Hey, internet is back.
They're doing a great job of trying to stay alive, but they should be taken out here.
Yeah, and unfortunately that Sonic's going out. They are eliminated in 18th place, and now Maestro can pick up the rest of their teammates and actually move on. And they need to loot pretty fast, because as soon as you hear shots, you are going to have that decision of, do we try and third party? Do we try and attack a team when they're either A, looting, or B, very weak? But the good thing about Apex Legends is when you do loot the opponents you've actually just killed, their armor is going to be replenished. So that's why we'll see a lot of teams actually quickly going to those loot boxes throughout these fights to try and constantly pick up that armor and ensure they have the most health as possible.
And now we're going to see Team Secret, the team who only have 2 members of the 3 that they were fully expecting to have here at the start of the tournament, moving through the caves, another close corner area of the map here, looking down on the mid-river area, trying to rotate through early, and we'll see benq here is going to have that gold armor as well, Dan, and we know how important that can be, especially in those late game situations.
And now the circle's starting to head towards the kind of market area as well. We've seen a lot of finishes at market, and it's always the decision of, do you want to try and hold market early? Do you want to try and hold the little buildings outside of market?
Meanwhile, with Alliance, we saw them with the swamps decision-making on the backside of this kind of pillar, and it seems they haven't really moved out from it whatsoever here.
They are right here, and as you'd expect, given that lack of movement, they are still running that white armor as well. So could be tricky late game for them as well. Now taking back on with Wyvern. They're looking good here in shields.
Notice how they actually traded up.
Sorry guys, internet cut gaya tha, but we are
this
back.
This is a part of the reason why so many teams kind of fear Wyvern here. They end up hitting on one of the arc stars, maybe baiting it out. We see Kranpe able to zone
Hey,
out for
Salit
quite
oh no no no.
time. Double grenade though, forcing him back. He's gonna be in a bad spot. There's gonna be an easy knock. HSL just making it rain from above here, hail if you will.
Yeah, they're gonna have to pull back here. They've got that nice high ground, so there's no reason that Rama really needs to fight this alone here. He's got Krems healing up on the high ground, and now he finally comes back.
Oh
I'm not
no!
sure how's that choice? And they played a 1v1 when they easily could have came back up and played that as a 2v1.
My goodness.
And just like that, or 2v2 if we had Parka all the way down to the bottom of the stairs as well. But look at that now. Noda's also pushing in on HSL there.
Yeah, it's an attic perspective here. Doing all right when it comes to some of the kills, but not so much when it comes to the resources across the board. Down to mana, down some armor there on just Shiny Spirit, able to zone off with a few. Shiny questioning if he wants to try and peek over this wall. Muffins is not going to be an option until they push back this team. Grenades come through, force the repositioning now, but they take shots in the downtime. You see Spirit losing his armor, Shiny losing everything too. Can Fanatic even make it out of here as you see Shiny just leave everything here and go for a Hail Mary towards the center circle.
Yeah, you have to assume that the Spirit was like, you go ahead. There's no way we're going to be able to fight this out. And now to check in here with Team Liquid White.
Got to respect the fact that he was willing to sacrifice. One of the biggest things that you can highlight that we just saw from Fnatic is if 2 people are going to that same rotation and it's high risk, you're essentially giving free shots to your opponent, not having to look at 2 different points. But Liquid maybe now having to look at 2 different points there after that loot box getting pressured in, forcing now an iframe onto Mad Ruski, and Parka questioning if he wants to push up.
Lots of damage coming in for Ruski, forced to queue out now. Back to here to Wyvern. It's Parka and Selly fighting alone. 10 squads remaining here as things are getting tight. We wondered what we'd see around Labs, and we're already getting it in our first series of the day.
Yeah, it's really exciting there, and we haven't even kind of tuned back in with what was the early setup of the Labs. We'll figure out what kind of unleashes there. Is still taking the perspective of Wyvern, and you know, Bravo, I already highlighted it a little bit before, but I am so impressed with what that roster's been able to do here already in Group A.
Also, love what I saw Parker rocking there. I believe he's got a Disruptor ult and then the Lone Star Peacekeeper. Maybe my favorite skin on the Peacekeeper. But now I think we just saw a little bit of pushing out of Bottom Labs, which I'm not sure I expected to see. But here we go. We are getting thick 9 squads left.
Gabizmon and Mirko both took a lot of damage from that outer ring. Gabizmon is actually going to heal up in the downtime. Don't think it's going to bite him here quite yet. Bunch of gold.
Okay, we are back.
Across the board for the Luke. Cali trying to dish out some shots. Able to break the armor, but not enough for a knock. Liquid with the high ground. Seems like it's just a formality there over that last shot, but you see those longbows off on the eastern side.
It's a good place to be for Liquid White. Gonna go ahead.
Hello.
Moment. You wouldn't expect this much time for them given their spot, but they certainly have an advantage here as we go ahead and see.
पता नहीं.
0-0 in red, also trying to fight through.
देखो तो टीवी
And
केबल
things
आ
are
रहा
coming
है.
down to the Labs
देख
It's
रहे
going to
हैं
get hot. If you wanted to see what the action was going to be like on the newest part of the
नेट
map,
अभी कट रहा था 3-4 बार
in this first set.
Oh, look at this.
हाँ,
Nothing on
बहुत
the outside.
ज़्यादा।
Actually has to take a wraith portal onto the other side of the wall. I
हाँ, आ रहा है,
feel like
TV आ
there's
रहा
no
है।
way he's going to get the full healing off in this downtime. And those
हाँ,
grenades
चल रहा है ना
seem
TV
like
में,
it's going
केबल
to
आ
be a
रहा
true
है,
story
हाँ।
there. Nice use of the iframe. We'll see if anybody actually tries to push in, knowing that this target is actually
अच्छा।
not there. Ret not going to be pressured at all, and the heal comes
ठीक है,
through. But now
plug निकाल
Liquid unleashing havoc here.
Should get that finish. You
हम
have
दे
to
देंगे
think there,
5
at least the
मिनट।
knock coming through, as they're going to just stay alive here up on this top nesting grounds area.
Everything looking good. Kali able to heal back up. Battery going through. Kalar not under too much pressure here quite yet. They do see a thirst coming through, but that's not problematic. But Ruski's health bar now is becoming one, forcing out now a Phoenix kit. 8 seconds before they're going to feel too comfy. And look, Complexity doesn't want that to happen. They want to try and pressure in this downtime where they have a minor winner. They get the break onto one armor, but it is not enough to force the push. Maybe Prod, though.
Yeah, here they go now. It looks like they do find out what's going on down the bottom of the hill. They're going to try to get this wipe as well. No, they're going to queue out and try to stay alive here now, falling back over to the truck, and lots of chaos here. Still 6 squads left.
But the grenade is there as well. They're zoning them off, and now they get the one knock onto one. Is it going to take the Ray portal? No, Complexity stuck in a bad spot, and they're going to be pincered out now back here with Team Liquid White, who's been dominating over this high ground in the final circle. Clean up HSL, and now we have 4 squads
Team
remaining,
Liquid, come on, make Mendo proud.
I mean, they have to be down. We haven't seen it yet, but they have to be down bottom labs, and we could
Oh,
even have
G2 is
more
hiding
than one
in
team
bush.
down there, so we could have
Hashtag
forced
PUBG
engagements
player.
down at bottom labs. They can portal out, of course, so we're going to have to see exactly when they're waiting to. We can assume maybe that there are several teams at bottom labs with the opportunity to portal out.
So here is a very weird moment as the circle is going to close in even more. It's very important to know that they can min-max as much damage as they possibly can over some of these circles going forward.
On completely different elevations as well.
What you do is you start the pre-heal onto the med kit so that within 3 ticks of damage that you have the opportunity to finish that. When you finish that, then you go through the Wraith portal that you've already had established. You use the Wraith iframe back through the Wraith portal. That is the most distance gained. If they could close this out because of that positioning.
Shiny is here all the way at the top of this stump and nesting grounds, just trying to
Oh,
stay alive.
no.
Getting absolutely ripped. That will be Fnatic and A that goes down back over to Liquid White, and it looks like right now, Dread,
Team
Liquid
Liquid
White is the
जीत
only team
जाएगी।
up here on the higher
Team
ground
Liquid
of
actually
nesting
जीत
ground.
जाएगी क्या?
Mimu, he's got Mimu just
मैं
waiting here in
स्ट्रीम
the
बंद हो गई
tree.
जा रहे यार, नेट कट गया था phenomenal यार,
my
sorry यार।
gosh, not like this. No, Liquid White.
Oh my.
You could kiss him. Oh my goodness.
Oh my god, they don't lie.
Mimu, they haven't spotted him yet.
Seems good. Yeah.
And he's going to wait for the opportunity either just to stay alive or
Oh
potentially
my
take part and see
God,
how things play out here.
Yeah, the main goal for Mimu is just can he outsurvive Team Liquid versus the what feels like unapproachable lab positioning on the bottom half. There's the portal I'm talking about before. We'll see if we get the Wraith pre-heal. To be honest, this is a theory crafting that I've actually not seen cleanly executed ever before, but it should be able to amplify that time. Mimu
Yeah,
found him,
G2 is
And
dead.
that's going to be it. It was a good run to watch for Mimu, but G2 will be eliminated.
उसने एक down कर दिया, जीत जाएगी Team Liquid, मेरे को लगता है जीत जाएगी।
Liquid here, all the way at top nesting grounds, above what is labs and the underground bits of labs. And now, yeah, it's gonna get interesting here.
It's important to note that 9XT has actually taken enough damage that if he takes 1 tick, he's gonna lose 1 tick advantage that he would have had because of his HP being too low. Here's the pre-kit. Yep, get the timer. Wait. It's not gonna be a problem yet. Nobody's pressuring. Now we have to wait for the next circle. Same decision making. Look, so who can prep their med kit better? That is the question. Now it's important to know, whoever takes the portal, it's important to keep the Wraith alive only. If multiple people take the portal, you actually lose a tick of damage on the outside, which costs Wyvern. We see the damage come through, portal attempt 1, they're going for it. And now watch what on the back end of this, as it closes in, this is gonna be so tense. Who can get the pre-prep? The fast heal backpack debatably might actually be a setback.
Here they go.
They're gonna go for it, buying as much time. 9XT is the only one who should stay alive here. He's gonna go for the heal, go back through the portal, buy as much time as you possibly can. iframe 1, go back through this portal for Ruski. There it is.
Yeah, Team Liquid
actually got the timer, even when Labs down below from the moment 1 set up for that exact situation to happen, and Liquid just clutches it out.
And we talk about situations we haven't seen before in competitive Apex, and these moments we haven't seen play out with the very late game meta. add that to the list for this weekend.
Yes, it's actually very, very pretty and beautiful for me, right? I'm sitting there going, I've thought about the, the numbers in my head. It calculates like this to show how this should be approached, but it's really nice to see that when everything's on the line here, clearly everybody putting as much thought as possible. And I think
Team Liquid White finish up
actually had the advantage to be able to close that. I was confident.
Okay, मैं अपने stream में वो करके दिखाएगा.
If you at round 1 make a play and that looks like your in-game circle, I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
like you said, just mastering that timing. I have not had a chance to see that played out, and I know you, as a fan of the game and just through our conversations, love the fact that we actually got to see that opportunity. Because keep in mind, at most final rings, when you have a severe elevation difference, there is a way for those two teams to find each other. In this example, right, you have team
कौन ज़्यादा देर जिंदा रह सकता है जब कोई zone नहीं रहेगा? That was that phenomenon.
In parallel, on completely different elevations, and there's no chance for the two to battle it out.
Yeah, I would be super interested to see.
एक नीचे था, एक ऊपर था, वो लड़ नहीं सकते.
Actually have both perspectives, so you can see the damage coming in and who times the med kit versus the portal versus the frame.
So Group A का match खत्म हो गया. Round 2 था कि Round 3 था? Round 3 था.
And then also, does Fast Heal Backpack have a huge influence on who walked away successful?
Right, and I can't wait to see, either at the studio, at the command center. I would love to see those two moments there as they play out one after the other, because like you said, it was a mental game and a math game for the numbers at the end.
And I think other narratives that we, kind of started here as we watch Group A unfold, Wyvern coming back in game number 3, clearly being a team that we absolutely need to fear. The fact that we got Liquid with a pretty successful round, and the fact that they're able to get first for the first time and really be on a name that we talk about with the top 5 groups.
And let's talk about how huge that is for Liquid White, because they were sitting in 14th with 8 points.
Yeah, that's exactly one of those teams you were highlighting before. The 5 teams that sit 1 kill away, Liquid was one of them. So in theory, they maybe, as long as they killed enough and weren't relying on that placement points, which is pretty good, they would have been enough to break into that winner's bracket here later on today.
Another super finish for the Apex history books, as we did see some fantastic bushwork from Mimu as he's able to stay alive. In the end, it didn't add any more points to the board, but it was still fun to watch as they were having trouble spotting him. A fantastic end of the game. It's going to be Liquid White that takes game number 3 and probably should secure their way through the group. But that's going to be it for us here on the desk for now. That concludes round number 1 for Group A. Let's go back over to the desk to see a little bit more of how that last one went down.
Thank you so much, Bravo. Fallout here, back with Jamerson and Glitter. An interesting game 3, to say the least.
Yeah.
You see some bushwork, as Bravo coined it. Can we make that a thing? Bushwork is officially a skill that you have in Apex, apparently.
It was good. I didn't know that you actually had equipables at this point in the game. But yeah, it worked. I mean, sneak level 100. They were just looting right next to them the entire time. But, it could have been a number of factors, right? The ring was right there, so maybe it obscured their vision just a little bit. He was also inside of a tree. He's also magic. I don't know.
I feel like you're looking for reasons for why that was successful, but what it boils down to is that he is just kind of making a name for himself in like the troll department.
The ultimate rat.
Yeah.
Mimu, the ultimate troll, finishes with the magic punch in the finish in game 2. And of course, match number 3, he some bushwork again, staying hidden, staying sneaky. I think they end up in 3rd place as it ends up in a heal off though, something you don't see very often. Medkit action, a little bit of Wraith action, but ultimately the better medkit and the better heal off was TLW.
Yeah, Dreadnought was talking about it. There was a gold backpack in play for Team Liquid White, and so regardless, the fact that Quasar didn't have that, it would have been TL taking that win, even if both of the teams did max out, getting that heal off and also using the Wraith portal to try and delay for as long as possible. It was that gold backpack. It was going to be a huge deterrent anyhow. They were going to take that W.
Yeah, that's a good call out. But how about a turnaround and a finish there, both for Quasar, Generation Red, and Team Liquid White. They were kind of fringe teams, I believe, in standings. Weren't sure how they were going to finish. They both finished 1st and 2nd, respectively, and they're expected to come out on top here now.
Yeah,
is there any announcement yet? No. Hello.
Obviously, there seems we haven't had a chance to talk about yet, right? And match 1 and 2.
अभी कोई announcement नहीं हुआ है गवार.
Nothing crazy happened, but then they were able to show that they're ready to hang with everybody in match 3.
मैं तेरे को नहीं बोला, Gaming with Rockstar आया हुआ है chat में, उसको बोल रहा था.
Focus fire along the way, taking out a lot of Fnatic, taking out a lot of people in their way. It looked very akin to what Wyvern were doing.
मैं बस 2 वर्ड बोलना चाहता हूँ. Longbow, no
scope. And finish, of
जीत
course,
गया
for
मैं.
Team Liquid White, who, by the way, if you did not hear, very unfortunate, Mr. Wonderful on the team was not able to make it here. Mr. Wonderful's a different person. Wonderful's not able to make it here to the tournament due to unforeseen circumstances. That Team Liquid White roster, which was just recently certainly announced by the Team Liquid, the great Team Liquid organization. Unfortunately, not able to play with their full squad. Mad Ruski comes in, solid performance, gets a win, which is huge for 1 of 3 matches. Team Liquid White still looking strong.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Ruski like compete across multiple things, switch rivals all the time too.
Easily.
I mean, he's a guy that does grind out the game, grind out whatever game he plays, and so he was like a pretty natural slot in for this team because they play together all the time whenever they're doing randoms.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great point. Of course, another team that performed consistently, perhaps consistent is their middle name, is we've actually, I think you mentioned it in the pregame show, Fnatic NA. I mean, another top 6 finish, I think top 5 finish there, as I believe it was it Shiny?
It was Shiny, yeah.
Shiny who was able to stay alive.
Very top of the stump.
Yeah, at the top of the stump, able to stay alive for
We got to see his reaction too. We were watching it at the same time. We were just like, yeah, he doesn't even look bothered at all because he knows exactly what he's trying to do. Just trying to rat.
Yeah, he was just trying to hold out for as long as possible, ensure maybe 1 or 2 more placement points if possible, but they put themselves in a really good position after those 3 matches.
I mean, by the time that Spirit and Muffins had gone down, I think there was about 9 or 10 teams left, and by the time by the time
मेरे को लगा था tournament boring होगा bro, लेकिन बहुत मजा
so
आया.
he did his job.
Exactly.
As that Wraith player, that's what you want to do. You have to abandon your team sometimes, and that's what he did. He got them extra placement points.
Yep. Well, one player performed consistently and great throughout as well is the King Troll himself, Mr. Calm under pressure. You saw the face cam while he was in that bush. He was just chilling. It was Mimu who had a really, really great series. Let's go ahead and throw it up to jump on the main stage with Mimu.
That's right, gentlemen. It was quite the effort over 3 matches for G2 Esports. Now, before we even get to those matches, I want to kind of take a further step back and really go through how this squad was able to be created. You and your teammate 0-0 teamed up with Snipedown under the reciprocity banner for X Games. After the X Games concluded, you and your teammate decided to pick up Rete and then sign to G2 Esports. Making that decision, clearly paying off. How confident were you guys feeling picking him up as a third coming in here for the preseason invitational?
Are you looking forward in participating in any tournament? Gawar pata nahi bro. Right now I don't feel like I'm good enough to compete in tournaments. Future ka pata nahi abhi.
Snipedown for the event, and it was always our plan to like go back to the original roster.
Clearly, signing to G2 is a huge step forward for you, being with an organization that has so much prestige in other game titles. Now, looking forward and having what we just happened in these last 3 matches, you guys were able to win match number 2 due to some cheeky plays by you. You ran out of ammo on the R301, and you were able to get the punch out. What was going through your head at that endgame?
I mean, a lot of the time I was like, I don't have light ammo. Like, I only have a triple take and 301 without ammo, and I don't know, I just tried to make the best of it, and during the fight I ran out of ammo, and I was like, I'm not taking out the triple take, I'm just, you know, punching.
Hey, the 1-2 haymaker certainly showed its value there. Now, game number 3, we called you one with nature as you found yourselves hiding into the bush and clearly keeping yourself alive for placement points. What was the mentality and what were those communications like because you were the only one left alive?
I mean, it was just in my head to, you know, stay alive until the last person, and I didn't realize that the last guy was down in the labs, so I was just waiting for them to find him, and then someone said that they're in the labs, and I just tried to pick one off and finish him, but, unfortunately I couldn't do that.
Now, with the finish in games number 2 and 3, it is all but
title story karta hai bhai dog mein goli maar dega tere ko.
Next round, there's a lot of competition. There were 20 teams in this lobby, which means there's 16 teams you haven't even began to look at. How are you guys going to prepare for the next group?
I mean, we'll be here looking through all the matches and seeing the drop spots and checking how people play, and that's pretty much how we prepare.
You feel confident still?
Hell yeah.
There we go. You have it. You seen it. You heard it. None other than G2 Esports secure themselves a Game 2 victory, and Mimu with the 1-2 punch haymaker. Match number 3 is concluded. Let's throw it back over to the analyst desk and see what they have to say.
Thanks so much, Bill. Fallout here, joined back again with Jamerson and Glitter. And yeah, the 1-2 punch haymaker, quite the boxing performance for Mimu. But one thing I got to say, confirmed, Mimu is not a troll. Most serious man in the world after that interview, confirmed, 100%.
I mean, you got to be able to be that composed, right? If you're going to be able to stare your enemies in the eye while you're hiding within the bush.
Exactly.
You're not wrong. He's saving all of the smiles for the finals.
Your troll dar is still ticking here? You think he's still...
Oh, I think so. I think he's still got it in him.
He's still got it. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's about Mimu and in that category. Of course, the category of winning. looking pretty solid, looking pretty sharp. They pick up a game 2 win.
So HSL won one game.
Match number 3 as well. So you got to
G2
think,
Esports won the second game,
they don't
and
necessarily
Team
need
Liquid won the third
Corona
game.
snipe down himself, but that's another interesting storyline. Is does that old Reciprocity banner roster in X Games need snipe down, or does snipe down need them? We'll see what comes to prove true here. But of course, snipe down and the Reciprocity roster, I believe in Group C or D. I can't remember exactly which one it is, but they'll be playing later in the day. Keep an eye out for that. One quick update for y'all that we have, and just as a heads up and a bit of a teaser, Group B matches are officially started and live. So we told you guys we're not going to miss any action. We of course have that live on the side stream right now, and we'll be jumping into that here after we get the final standings for you in Group A when we see how everything wrapped up. And now, with that said, Group A, there's
What ये बोल रहे हैं Group B का start हो चुका है match.
G2's up there. We had those teams that were on the fringe. Complexity, a solid match 3 performance and a consistent top 10 finish. I believe in every single match, you got to think Complexity's going to go through.
Yeah, the thing is, we also saw that a lot of teams from the bottom 10 after the second matches ended were able to actually have a really good performance. Talking about Team Liquid, talking about Quasar, so they have propelled themselves forward. So we'll have to see what that displacement is like now that they've moved themselves up in the top half.
I'm also interested to see what the teams that do end up getting knocked down to losers bracket do here on out. Whether they're going to keep doing what they did in these first 3 matches and hope that maybe it works better in losers, or if they're going to change it up and kind of test the waters with some new play style or some more or less aggression, and hope that it pays off better.
Do you question consistency from a team like Wyvern, a team like HLS, who maybe performed well early on, or HSL, performed well early on match number 1, and then maybe not so much in match 2 and 3? Or do you think it was more your initial analysis, which is they're testing the waters here, they're treating these like scrims?
I mean, they were able to show what they're capable of easily once again in game 3.
The bush player.
Was
हाँ but वो काम नहीं करता ना, क्योंकि I mean वो उसके लिए काम करता अगर दोनों टीम ऊपर रहती, राइट? क्योंकि वो एक टीम अंदर थी और एक टीम ऊपर थी, वो बच नहीं सकता था, वरना वो बुश प्ले काम कर जाता. उसने डाउन कर दिया एक बंदे को.
Going to be super indicative of how they're moving forward playstyle wise.
I would actually have to completely agree with that, because it didn't look like they were really changing anything. The only thing that changed was how the circle worked and where they had to rotate towards. And so that second game was definitely not a good one for them, but it was because also the ring was on the opposite end of the map, all the way towards the northwest when they were coming from the southeast. And so I think, going into the next match, going into the next round of winners, that they're going to continue to do the same thing, right? We don't have that kind of same prep-up time leading up to our matches where back at the X Games, you had to kind of feel each other out. Right now, it's just about
hashtag 12 से अच्छा है hashtag 3, right?
Sometimes all it takes is that one game to pop off, and boy, did they put on a show and do exactly that. Was Wyvern a 16-kill game, 25-point game for Wyvern? But now let's go ahead and
NRG अभी कहाँ खेली है?
show you how all the teams fared here. The top 10, ladies and gentlemen, Complexity on the fringe, tied with Love Gaming at 15 points, but due to the tiebreaker, Complexity barely makes it through. So Jason Lake's at home happy right now as Complexity stays in the winner's bracket. And honestly, you got to think, whether you're first place or 10th,
Korean number 3 पे अभी 32 points.
What else stands out?
G2 number 1 पे.
Yeah, right now it looks like
Apex का competition है क्या? हाँ. What do you mean, Raju?
They didn't actually perform as well as I would, as well as I'd hoped them to. So Triumph sitting at 15th right now, and North sitting at 17th. So they definitely do have something to do. Of course, they do have an entire day before the losers bracket start.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take it to the top of the standings now as we see G2 Team Liquid White with a leap to second place, Wyvern in third place. That's your top 3. Glitter, you think we're going to see a consistent performance in winners bracket round 2 from these teams?
I really hope so, because if they keep playing the way that they have been playing, it's going to make the games moving forward that much more interesting. There's the potential for the upcoming rounds to get a little bit more hectic the closer these players get to the final matches, and I'm hoping we get some good plays out of it.
I sure hope the same. Performs consistently well throughout.
अरे आ गए इंडियन इंडियन टीम ने पार्टिसिपेट किया नहीं. राजू मंडल, this is invitational tournament. This is not online qualifier.
Triumph was 8th or 9th place going into that match number 3.
Only countries that has been
alongside the likes of
invited
Quasar Generation
have
Red,
gone to
Team
play the
Liquid White.
tournament.
Ultimately, whoever steps up when it matters most in that match 3 comes out on top. And in this situation, it's TLW. Congratulations to them.
Yeah, those teams definitely needed to step it up.
$500,000.
They did. But the thing is, I'm super impressed by what Quasar was doing basically all series long, taking fights against teams that, you know, a lot would kind of guess are some of the best teams at this tournament. So taking the fight against Wyvern in game number 1, even though they lost that fight, it was still tight. They traded 3 for 2. And at that point, that could have been the end of Wyvern's run, right? That's where in game number 1, Wyvern were able to score 25 points. If it weren't for that game, they might not be here. They might be in the lower bracket.
That's a great point. Another interesting thing that we saw in that top 10. Talk about diversity of teams and talent.
$500,000
Quasar Generation
ज़्यादा नहीं है, तुम लोगों को लग रहा होगा ज़्यादा है, but like 80 टीम है और बहुत लोगों को पैसा नहीं मिलेगा सिर्फ तो और उन्होंने ट्रैवल और वो भी नहीं दिया है. कोई अनाउंसमेंट होगी, I don't know, probably शायद हो सकती है क्योंकि पूरी दुनिया देख रही है.
$dollar. Regional play and really every region representing well.
I'm just happy that Wyvern did well.
What Murdoch?
So you can you're 3 for 3 now, by the way.
It was a razor's edge, though. If they had lost that fight against Quasar, it could have been a completely different story. But still, yeah, they were impressive. That game number 1 was so good to see from them.
And if that's something they can manage to repeat in the finals, I hope the other teams are ready.
That is true. Consistency is key, of course, in this format. You got to think 3 matches comes into play here a little bit. You know, it's not 5, it's not 6. You can't have 1 or 2 bad games. You got to perform well throughout. How much do you think that played a factor here?
Honestly, we were worried about Fnatic NA's kind of consistency throughout this, right? Because tortoise in the hair, we were talking about it. Sometimes you do have to play a little bit faster. It looks like they did pick it up just a little bit better, getting into positions where they're able to cut off people, making the rotations, and finding those eliminations. That's where a lot of their points were coming from. They were finding those mid-game eliminations along with the placements, even though they weren't placing, you know, 2nd and 3rd all the time.
I'm still stuck on Spirit's team wipe.
Yeah.
With those snipes.
Yeah.
I was hoping we were going to see some shots like that coming out of some of the teams, and he did not disappoint.
Yeah, that's for sure. Spirit, the long-haired wonder coming from Atlanta, Georgia with a great performance. Great big shot to Spirit. Of course, playing alongside the brothers in Shiny and Muffins coming from Seattle. They make it through. That's Fnatic North America. Arguably the better of the 2 Fnatic squads. Only time will tell as we got Fnatic EU coming to play here in a little bit as well. Keep in mind, if one of your favorite teams is no longer in that top 10, didn't qualify to winners bracket round 2, guess what? We still have a losers bracket. This is the beauty of this brand new format here for the first time debuting at a Battle Royale tournament, a double elimination bracket. EA's competitive gaming team really outdid themselves.
No, I'm absolutely stoked for this because that does give time for the teams to go back, right? Lower bracket doesn't get played until tomorrow. And so they do have time to make adjustments and try and scout out what the other teams were doing. And so we'll see if they make any adjustments in the next 24 hours.
And that also plays into what you were saying earlier about some of the fights that teams were choosing to take. In BR, knowledge is power.
Second stream,
right? Which is why
don't know.
Pathfinder's useful because now you get to know the next ring. You know, the more information you have at your disposal, the better. And sometimes there potentially is a possibility that teams are taking fights they know might not be the best because they're in a comfortable enough position to do so in order to learn about the teams they will be fighting against moving forward.
Did we just hear one of the greatest one-liners of analysis of all? In BR, knowledge is power. Can someone frame that as a poster with a smiling face of my friend Glitter here? What's the face you're going to make in this poster?
Be on that hot seat, to be in the view of everybody who's watching. For 789, I always think there's one moment in those closing circles where you see the IGL make a call, and it's not only the call, it's the execution of the call. 789 made that call up on top of Bones to force Penta off. How difficult is it, you know, I'm asking you as a player. Moment, the R99 is just chewing through shields once again. 789 trying to pick up some kills. They do get the elimination. Do some damage. Here comes the Wraith. Advantages, you know, etc.
And I'm going to go back to them again because
ex-champion, in order to lift that trophy, I feel like it's imperative the teams in the groups,
or maybe even if that ring,
everyone.
Yeah, they play that way on the online, but are they going to play that way on LAN when $500,000 is on the line? That's going to be the real question, and it also comes into the equation of how you loot and how lucky you are with. pin up here and one of you doesn't,
Copyright
and two of you get
strike
caught
क्यों
out,
आएगा?
but they're able to get the rest of the team down to
छोटू का
very little
गोलगप्पा
shield.
580
There was
million
an opportunity
cross
for that
कर
third
लिया
player
लोग.
to have maybe
What?
finished all of those players, get 3
Why are you
eliminations,
telling me
and actually
this?
won that fight.
कौन है
It's
छोटू का
such a huge
गोलगप्पा?
thing, and that moment of hesitation is what separates teams in certain situations. You saw it from Penta there. They were on top there. They were trying to hold down. They decided, all right, there was probably a call for, there's players here, players here. Maybe the player whose responsibility, I should say, to be watching those access points up to the top of the bones took his eye off the ball for just a second. That decision went against them and completely changed the outcome of the game. But I really want to know as well, 789, you look at their position.
Drops from them from artillery X Games,
Oh,
but
round
they felt
one
like
हो
High Desert
गया.
would be a little bit better for them. You can see
Check
they're
out
splitting
करो
off
video.
now
I'm
as well,
recommending.
just to
Nah,
try
I
and
don't want to.
kind of distance themselves around High Desert so they can get the optimal amount of loot. And actually, one of them is going to dive into bunker as well, just to try and pick up a little
Energy
bit
का
of
एक round हो
Across
गया.
the 3 monitors there, you had one player who was landing in the pit, you had one player pushing towards the bunker, and we didn't quite catch where that third player, but they're covering quite a lot of ground there as now we jump on with the South Koreans. MVP, a little bit of a change up in the drop here for them as well.
Yeah, not dropping their expected cage, and most teams should have 3, maybe even 4 different drop locations, and maybe MVP, with all the talk about them, thought, look, we're not going to drop cage this time. We're actually going to look to drop elsewhere, just because we might have the chance to loot a little bit more comfortably. But it doesn't look like there's any early engagements as NRG have really spread themselves out at the moment. You can see how far away they are from one another, and I'm sure they'll look to group up soon. But this is just their way of ensuring that they have decent loot, so that when they do get into that first engagement, they are well equipped.
Well, here is NRG now, and you can see they've moved across the map quite aggressively so far.
click करना जो YouTube channel है उनका.
A little compound just above the Oasis, and looking across the loot right
उसमें
now, not too
दो
much
live
to talk
streams
about. Dizzy with
आएंगे.
that blue body shield is going to have a pretty good.
By the way,
start, to be
copyright
honest with you,
claim
as far as
आएगा,
loot
मैं
is
पहले ही बता
concerned,
दे
as
रहा
well as the alternate, does the disruptor rounds on that as well. So it's pretty
हूँ.
tough
आएगा,
to start
मेरे को
things
आया.
off. Well, now we're going to see him picking up some batteries, but looking across the early circle down, it looks like we're
But
going to
the
have
thing is कि I don't give a fuck. So
southwesterly
like
circle here.
कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता.
Yeah,
Like तेरे को अगर फर्क पड़ता है.
maybe teetering towards Gauntlet as well. And I
मैं
think
बता
that
दे
this
रहा
is
हूँ,
actually
अगर
a
तेरे को फर्क
perfect
पड़ता है
circle for
copyright
NRG,
claim से
and maybe
तो
that's
मत
why
कर.
they got the aggressive rotation.
हाँ,
Maybe
claim
that's
ही
why
है.
they pushed through bunker so that they could
तो
ensure
claim में कुछ
a
नहीं
little bit
करना
of
पड़ता,
loot,
बस
and now they'll look
monetization
to
हटा दो
rotate
उसमें.
and try and find something a little bit later, but an early engagement now. And you've got to be very careful when you've got such little
आया
armor
गया,
to work
क्या
with,
आया
that
गया?
if you are going to take this fight, you all have to push it together. It
Stage
can't be
2, let's
half-assed.
go. कौन-कौन है आज टीम में? ACO, Dizzy और मोहार है ना?
हाँ, मोहार.
Try and back away from this battle, and I think that's what I am expecting.
तू कौन सा round 2 देख रहा है? Group B का round 1.
Stage 2.
अरे stage 2 तो मालूम ही है, but उसमें क्या देखना है तू? 37 minutes. 37 minutes में rewind करेगा तो जो round 1 है वो
There's going to be a
दिखेगा.
fight going on here in the swamps, and there we are to see our first
कौन
squad
मरा?
eliminated. I believe that was
Dream
Dream.
Mitini.
Yeah, taken out straight
Stage
away.
2
And,
मैंने चला दिया अभी.
after such a long wait to be the
तो
first team
उसमें
to be
minus
eliminated,
37
you're
पे
gonna
जाएगा
have
तो
to now
round 1
wait for
तेरे को
the
दिख
rest
जाएगा.
of this game. And I mean, usually around 20 to 25 minutes is your average game of play Apex as well. I'm just advertising the Twitter whilst I go with it. But this is going to be now tough for them to sit back and
Group
have to
2
watch.
थोड़ा ज़्यादा aggressive है
But
group
now it
1.
means the opportunity to loot as well. That's always going to be the advantage of winning these early engagements, is you get to have all the loot that they actually just were able to find in this early stage. But it was a fight
हाँ
in
आया,
swamps
but I don't give a
early on,
fuck.
one of the
मुझे
distant
पंजाबी
drop
का
locations, one of the
नहीं.
ones that often is contested because
TS
it is
Elderberg
such a
की team गई
large
क्या?
area with a lot of loot.
वो TSM group B में नहीं है, group C
They were
में है
looking
group
really,
B.
really good. A couple of blue shields, a purple shield as well,
Vinya,
longbows,
hello.
Spitfire as well for that
Vinay.
sort of medium range
Vinyas.
weaponry. Really in a good position here as we now
Hello,
move
Ratul.
over to Equilibrious Esports
Mohar, what the fuck?
and Mr. Elcat, as we are in that choke point above the canyon here, down such a difficult area to rotate through.
Yeah, and they're just looking to retreat as well. They lost Odd Fluffy. They haven't been able to grab his banner, and they are just getting out. They do not want any of that fight, or do they? They start to head back towards them, and you always take a little peek when you've got a couple of weapons to say, are you going to be able to get those kills or not?
Well, here you're
Team
going to see Sentinels, and
789.
they do win their first battle here. Retzi is actually going to pick up all 3 finishes on those kills. So Sentinels, a fantastic start from them. And the Peacekeeper in those close range quarters. We talked about how deadly it is. Such a devastating weapon to have, and it was put to use perfectly there by Sentinels.
Able to get incredible loot as well from that engagement. They were able to get a gold knockdown shield, purple armor for them, as well as Penta now just hovering around Skulltown, because we were only still having this round one circle closing. A lot of teams are
एक
just
बार
going
भी
to be
Thunderdome में
hesitant to
circle नहीं
push,
बना
just as they maybe want to wait or maybe try and get towards one of those positions where they can utilize Pathfinder's passive and actually see where that circle is going to be going. That's why we see a lot of teams choose certain locations for those drops. For example, the cage, it does have the ability to actually use Pathfinder's passive over and over again if you're able to hold it for a long amount of time.
Custom lobby पे customer पे
They're
नहीं
quite happy
match.
here. They're just setting up and waiting to see where that circle is going to be moving. Watson in up, getting those fences up, and we've also got that ult going as well to stop any nades that might be flowing in through any of those windows. And now we're going to see the rotation from the outside of the circle and a pretty early rotation into the inner circle here towards market. And this is coming in from EBC, I believe, that it's a risk gaming though. They're going to be set up here again, just playing the slow game. And this is what I want to talk about, Dan, because a lot of people watching competitive Apex for the first time there might be wondering exactly what was happening in that situation.
एक टीम जानते हैं क्या कर रही है?
Circle, did it take where you push and what fight you
वो
want to take?
मार्केट के पहले जो एक छोटा सा घर है, मार्केट के पहले नहीं, वो हाँ जो कहते हैं
This is where we see teams now use the W key.
वो जो रिवाइव स्टेशन है ना पानी में, तो वहाँ से मार्केट की तरफ जाते हैं ना राइट से, जहाँ पे 3 बिन्स हैं और एक छोटा सा घर है पाँव के पास, तो वहाँ पे उसके अंदर बैठी हुई है, ठीक है, और कुछ सेटअप वेटअप नहीं किया, ठीक है, कि लोग को लगे कि ये घर लेने के लिए रेडी है, और जैसे ही कोई घुसेगा हाँ उसको झड़झड़ा दे। मैं देखना चाहता हूँ ये स्ट्रेटजी काम करता है।
3 players from another team using that zip line to traverse the map to get into that circle to force some early rotations, and now we're going to see a battle going down. This time it's just near the pit, the entrance to the pit, and we're going to see one player burning, but the R99 again at short distance, just ripping through health, ripping through shields, and it's Android Dream who are trying to be aggressive here as again, the R301 here, the Carbine's doing some damage, here comes the Wraith, but Maestro are doing a great job of trying to stay alive, but they should be taken out here.
Yeah, unfortunately that Sonic's going out. They are eliminated in 18th place, and now Maestro can pick up the rest of their teammates and actually move on. And they need to loot pretty fast, because as soon as you hear shots, you are going to have that decision of, do we try and third party? Do we try and attack a team when they're either A, looting, or B, very weak? But the good thing about Apex Legends is when you do loot the opponents you've actually just killed, their armor is going to be replenished. So that's why we'll see a lot of teams actually quickly go throughout these fights to try and constantly pick up that armor and ensure they have the most health as possible.
And then we're going to see Team is Secret, the team who only have 2 members of the 3 that they were fully expecting to have here at the start of the tournament, moving through the caves. Another close quarter area of the map here, looking down on the mid-river area, trying to rotate through early, and we'll see benq here is going to have that gold armor as well, Dan, and we know how important that can be, especially in those late game situations.
And now the circle's starting to head towards the kind of market area as well. We've seen a lot of finishes at market, and it's always the decision of, do you want to try and hold market early? Do you want to try and hold the little buildings outside of market? Because it is very important of your decision of, am I going to go for high ground? Am I going to go for low ground?
अबे 6 level का बंदा कौन है?
I think high ground is best because of course you can rail down shots.
6 level का बंदा कोई नहीं है, वो नया अकाउंट बन के उनको मिलता है ताकि कोई चीट और ये सब का ऑप्शन ना हो,
because if you are in that high ground and you do drop
उनको bot accounts मिलता है,
you have that minimal amount of stun which could be enough to actually cause you to die.
So we're watching PKMK here from Navi. You can see there's another team who are just based across from them at the moment. And MVP, what a rotation this is from the South Koreans. We were talking about how market was going to be such a vital choke point on this map, such a position of power, and they have complete and utter control of it as that circle will be moving in around 48 seconds. 17 squads still left in, a little bit more action than when we saw from our first game in Group A. However, a lot of teams still left in this, and a lot of teams, again, set up around the market here.
They're all just taking a different section of market at this point, and they'll all be able to hear each other as well, and that's why they're darting around. You can even see on the opposite side of the market through the windows, someone else is setting up, but reluctancy at the moment to dive into one of those engagements because there's still 17 squads left, and above them is MVP. I think in this position, being on top of market is actually fantastic, but you've got to be watching those areas, and that's why we're seeing the pings from the teammates of Aka here saying we need to watch these areas because we don't want to get caught out.
Cooler.
Amaz taken down there in the kill feed. Hackius, and now we're going to see his teammates
desperately
trying to disengage here, get some shields back. The have to wonder if the team that took them down there are going to try and push that advantage and get some kills on the board. But it looks like these two players will get away. But back to MVP now. In my opinion, the team who are controlling things, as we see. Longbow cracking a shield there momentarily. And again, just watching these choke points, they're going to be able to get so much valuable information from this power position, Dan. They're controlling everything on the map right now.
They just have to ensure they're communicating, and if they... the scary thing is where they are, they could get pushed from 2 areas at once, and if they initiate in a gunfight, that might encourage other players who might just be hiding around one of these corners to join into that gunfight. You've got to be very good with trigger discipline in Apex Legends. You need to be reluctant to shoot at times because you don't want to encourage a fight that either you can't win or especially one you can't finish. Because yes, eliminating one person and getting a point is great, but if it means the demise of your team, you're not necessarily going to want to go for it.
And Team Secret, you can see their plan here. They're trying to catch anyone who's going to be rotating late towards that circle. They're trying to really make this choke point as stifling as possible through the caves. And I think they're aware that the team that's just outside of the circle there are going to have to rotate towards them at some point. And that's where the battle will go down. So at the moment, it's a little bit of a game of cat and mouse as we see the shots go in from the G7 Scout, just dropping those shields. And, you know, we talk about how dropping those shields is so vital, Dan, because it means when that team has to push, they're going to have less resources to use between them to replenish shields in the battle following.
It was a cheeky Pathfinder as well, trying to use his passive just to get more information on the circle, just trying to see whether it was going to land over market or maybe to the left. But you can see now on the screen here of EBC, a slight part of market is left in, and this was the expectation I had when I saw this circle. I have seen this kind of end game as it gets towards those buildings outside of market. There is plenty of open ground, but also several buildings you can find yourself in. Now, do you position yourself in this corner of market knowing there are people who are above you? Because if you try and leave early, you're going to find yourself in a really rough situation.
Yeah, this is where you're going to see a lot of Wraith-based play, I believe, a lot of portals trying to find an escape route. And it's when you move, now you're going to see Pride having to back up here for Forehead. Using that Watson armor just to replenish his shields, and they don't have the best armor to find their way out of this situation. So if I'm in their shoes right now, you kind of try and wait for someone else to make that decision to take the eyes off you and take that attention off so you can rotate.
One of the members of Maestro just became the kill leader as well, and I think we just
bot
saw
account
Team
मिलता है उसमें आपके
eliminated
account में
and
सारा
they finished in
information रहता है
17th, so now
but वो
down to just
आपका
16
real account नहीं
squads as
होता
this
origin से
circle
login
gets
नहीं होता
tighter and tighter, and we are going to see more engagements now. You can see how reluctant
Did
they
you hire
are
me?
to actually be pushing
क्या?
out. So now they're looking to see if they can
Security
rotate out a
किया?
different way
नहीं, अभी
and
तक नहीं
avoid some
किया
of these shots. They
और
might have to
पेंटा
take a
बैक
fight on their way into this circle.
को
Yeah, this is where some
वो
action has to
MVP
go
राज
down.
को
A lot
देखा
of teams are going to have to move, have to relocate.
पेंटा
The interesting thing is, once they've even managed to escape the clutches of market right now,
MVP राज के पास
MVP are the guardians
MVP
of
team
market.
के
Their
पास बहुत
sounds
अच्छा
up.
हुआ
They're
है
waiting for
location
anyone
Stage 2
to
देख
try
रहे हैं
and
ना,
move,
Stage
and they're
2
going to be
का
able to
stream.
pick up kills.
Stage 2 का देख रहा हूँ, but like
Pick
अभी
up
live नहीं
one
देख
squad,
रहा
right?
हूँ.
There's so many teams
Round
around
1
here,
देख
they
रहा हूँ.
can do a
Round
lot
1
of
नहीं
damage
देखी
here.
ना.
Some of the weaponry
लोगों ने
maybe
नहीं
not
देखा है ना.
very
मैं
great
round
in
1
this
दिखा रहा हूँ
final
पहले.
circle. I'm
कहाँ
seeing
है
a lot
यार?
of
क्या?
scout plus wingman,
बंदे
and
दिख रहे
really
lag.
you want an SMG in
क्या
this
बोल रहे हो?
situation where you are going to have a couple of close
नहीं,
quarter
कोई lag नहीं है.
combat situations, but when you're in a place like this where
वो
Secret
stream का lag
are,
होगा यार,
well, this
ये तो
G7
नहीं
scout
चल
is
रही
actually coming in handy because you can pepper and you can grief
ये
the
मैंने 1
players that
घंटे
are
पहले
trying to
French
get
fries
into the
order
circle, as now round 3 begins to close. Now this is where you begin moving.
ओले भाई
C4 had somehow managed to get out of that sticky situation they found themselves in market.
नहीं मार पाए.
And now they're going to try and move up. You can see a ping going out there, an enemy ping. And here comes the Pathfinder, using that mobility to get up to the top of these bones. And now they're in a position to regroup. A fantastic escape in the circumstances there from Forehead.
Yeah, and now they can utilize that G7 scout that actually Payne has been
पता नहीं
able
कब
to
आएगा,
acquire
भाई.
throughout this game, and he's just peppering a
अरे
couple
बता
of
रही.
enemies and griefing a little bit as well, and maybe he can pick up a kill here. Unfortunately, Wraith just able to use her ability to get away, and that Q is imperative to know when actually to use it in those right times, because if you time it incorrectly, you can find yourself falling, because there's a very slight delay on the Q from when you press it, from when it's actually initiated. And
Look at this
What
cheeky
the
little
fuck?
spot here. Cheeky little spot just overlooking like a guardian angel. And now you're going to have to see that push coming in from
when actually to use it in those right times, because if you time
What
it
the
incorrectly, you can find yourself
मेरी
falling.
stream
There's a very
देख.
slight delay on the Q
देख
from when you
लूंगा
press
रुक
it,
जा.
from when it's actually initiated. And
Look at this cheeky little spot here. Cheeky little spot just overlooking like a guardian angel. And now you're going to have to see that push coming in from one of these teams. HRB, Albania are going to be the team who are trying to hold down this choke point. Watch anyone coming through the caves. And you can see just at the crossroads buildings as well, everyone set up at the moment, trying to hold their ground.
Oh.
This is what's made it so impressive.
Yeah.
Forehead here, who managed to rotate out so easily.
Live वाले में कह रहा हूँ, live वाले में देख रहा हूँ.
It really is going to come down to those teams who have been able to predict that circle and get into a position where they can now watch those who are going to be running from the likes of market, where a lot of people did,
Here, fantastic focus fire there from MVP. They drop one. So many kills now dropping in the feed as everyone's trying to rotate. There's carnage here in Kings Canyon. Everyone's dropping left, right, and center.
Look at this positioning from Penta as well. They've got the high ground. They're in the circle and they are just griefing everyone. Wacko with the wingman doesn't have the skull piercer, but he does have the ability to do a little bit of damage for now. But he's running out of heavy ammo, so you do need to communicate with that your team, because in this situation you need to make sure you have your medkits, you have your shields, and they're split evenly between your team, depending on what actual.
You see Banderstorm is overlooking his teammates who are pushing in with those R99s, trying to finish those kills. They have managed it. The Wraith is running for dear life and somehow manages to weave away and bob and dip and duck and somehow survive with about 5 HP.
It's so important as well for Dream to try and stay alive, because I believe they're 20th in the first match, so they have to make sure they get some sort of placement to give them a chance of progressing in this winners bracket.
Well, Maestro have managed to improve their situation from the last time that we saw them. They were all sitting there on white shields, level 1 armor, but now they've managed to get those blue shields in place, which is certainly going to help their situation as we get towards those latter rounds. And I just wanted to touch on MVP as well, as we see some of these wingman shots coming in. They were the ones who landed relay.
भाई 19 टीम बची हुई है मैडम.
Still fighting.
Yeah, MVP know that they're in a fantastic opportunity of winning this game. They will have to, of course, push out a little bit later if the circle moves slightly away from relay and towards wetlands.
Well, Sonics are in a little bit of a difficult position here. You can see they're kind of being pinched from both sides. Plus, there's a team above them on the tower who have fantastic high ground, so they have to move. You can see it from the top left-hand side of your screen right now. When they do move, they're going to be in a position to potentially come under fire, but it looks like they've managed to sneak their way out.
Can we cook grenade and Astra in Apex? No, you cannot. But you can throw them above to cook it.
Sneaking is very important in Apex.
Not in your hand.
If you are loud and noisy and you do get spotted, you don't just get seen by one team. That gunfire is noticed by about 10 who are just there waiting and hoping to pick you off to gain those extra points from eliminations.
Now we're going to see the game just start to slow down a little bit more as we see the ring closing in 20 seconds until
Sonic को एक गया.
As we see Wacko, the crazy shot there onto the player to drop him. Not sure if he got the confirmation on the kill though. As we see another player trying to push. Now we're seeing the carnage start to ensue, and Penta, they're starting to rack up some kills of their own.
Yeah, Penta doing so well with the SMGs here. And the Devotion with a turbocharger rips through the body
Devotion
shield.
चला रहे हैं लोग tournament.
Incredible. If you can find a turbocharger early game, you keep it just in case you find a Devotion.
So EBC then, again, in a position on the edge of the circle, trying to fight their way in. They're in a difficult position though. They do have some cover, but with that low ground, you get the feeling they're going to be looking to do a little bit of damage, maybe with this longbow, and then push up. Here goes Banderstorm in with that havoc. As we move over now to a couple of players, got themselves into a pretty good position just outside of the circle here with some cover. It's going to be Quasar Generation Blue.
पक्का है तेरे को.
They're going to have to make a play when that circle moves.
भाई custom server में चल रहा है.
अरे तो custom server में तो X game भी चला था उससे.
You get to this position
देंगे तब ना.
The circle is closing and you can see there's still 15 squads left. If you try and push too early, you can be punished. Like if you didn't make the decision to rotate as early as round 1, maybe even round 2, then you've just got to say, all right, we're playing the circle this game. We're going to try and pick people off that are running in earlier than us, and we go for a late rotation.
भाई साहब pixel पे खेल रहे हैं लोग.
We hope that maybe we're the last team people look at running into that circle.
And it's EBC who are the team who are looking to fight them here, Quasar Generation Blue. So those two teams going back and forth for position as they both have to move into the circle. And it looks like Quasar Generation Blue here.
एनर्जी मोहन अरे ये लोग फाइट ही नहीं दिखा रहे हैं. कैसा ऑब्जर्वर है. डीजी वहाँ डाउन कर रहा है और ये लोग दिखाई नहीं रहे. ये लॉन्गबो दिखा रहे हैं.
Terrifying. You start going towards the circle and suddenly doors open and people peek out of windows and they just rain down fire, and you come to that realization.
ये तो डीजी वाला सर्कल है.
We actually can't push anywhere at this point. We need to try and utilize either Pathfinder's ult or Wraith's ult. Otherwise, we're really just going to struggle.
Here's a team that we haven't spoken too much about, and they're in a fantastic position towards this final circle as well. And that is going to be Herbania. They have the high ground looking over relay. And if you look at where the circle is situated at the moment, Dan, they're in a fantastic position to close out a fantastic placement.
Yeah, I think a lot of players will know that this final circle has finished here before. We have seen that high ground can be very effective, so taking it early,
उसने double collateral मारा G7 scouts से.
Trying to attempt to take it off you before we get to.
ओ बाप रे बाप, वो हवा में कैसे शॉट मारते थे ये लोग?
Just be able to pick off the flying ray through the air. Longbow accuracy so important because it's so heavy at the moment in the meta. Great shots from Penta here and Oryx in particular.
Hello.
That skull piercer with the longbow doing some amazing damage.
He also has plenty of ammo to be working with as well, so he could just hold that position. And now it's Bowser's time to shine as he lands some longbow shots of his own. And now we're going to see the guys from EBC getting aggressive and looking to finish off these kills. Backs down, the baiting and switching coming in, but here comes the little peek from the window above. The door opens, it was like the world's worst trick or treat there.
And they're just trying to loot those boxes really quick as well, try and get some armor and hope there's something in there. Pop down that Watson ult just to recharge some shields, but they don't really have the time at the moment because everyone's darting into this circle.
Penta doing work again as far as the kill feed is concerned. 4 head get taken down by Penta. They had a great first game and they're looking to keep that momentum up in the second game as MVP are still holding strong.
Look at their positioning. They dropped relay, they've predicted the circle absolutely perfectly, down to a T. They are central of circle number 6. I mean, this is amazing from them. Yes, okay, they're not going to have as much shields, maybe as much ammo as other teams, but they are already solidifying themselves maybe a top 5 placement, unless they get pushed by a team like this, 789, who are very close to them. And they've already got the points secured from the previous game. I wonder whether they're thinking, all right, we want that building in there. We think then we might be able to use that to our advantage.
Certainly can put the pressure onto the team who have been holding it down ever since the start. Now we're going to see a player get aggressive. Peeks through the Peacekeeper. Didn't think he managed to actually hit those shots, and now we're going to see all the teams trying to collapse, rotating in, 9 squads left. MVP picking up some downs along the way, as well as a kill there onto the Kulash player.
Yeah, you just got to make sure you can get these revives as well, pick up your teammates so you can ensure that you're able to go into this next circle with as many healthy teammates as possible, because a 2v3 can be very difficult, and now everything unfolding just coming in towards relay here.
789 again, picking up kills, picking up placements. They have been absolutely sublime so far in our first 2 games here of Group B. And another team who are still looking strong in this top position is HRB. You can see using that Wraith ability to portal down and potentially move towards that circle as it closes in.
However, their high ground becomes a little bit less towards this next circle. They have a little bit to work with and they can hide and duck, but they can now actually be very annoying to Team 789 as Penta get eliminated from the competition, down to just 5 squads now. And this final circle is going to look very scary. As circle number 6 just closes in onto 7, and it means that actually it's still MVP don't actually have to move. They're in the perfect building. They can hide in one side of it.
Yeah, and 789 is still involved as well. And look at the focus fire coming in here from 789. They are communicating and they are executing to the highest level towards this end game. Fantastic stuff again from them, as MVP are still in the position that they started this game off with, and they are still picking up kills along the way. This is a big points game here for MVP.
With only 4 squads left and another 55 seconds, though, for this circle to close in. This is now where usually you have a little bit of a lull, where people just try and work out how they're actually going to push into this next circle and how they're going to coordinate perfectly. Are they going to be pincering? Are they going to utilize Wraith's ult? Are they going to go for a Pathfinder zipline, perhaps? Or are they just going to have to go gung-ho and run straight at another team?
Gonna have to see how this one plays out. Now, he's actually trying to escape to get himself a body shield, which is a great play in that particular situation. But look at the fire he's coming over. He desperately needs to stay alive, relying on his teammates to keep him alive. And MVP, that teamwork is absolutely beautiful.
Go MVP have just picked their moment perfectly. They were hiding for so long, and they've said, okay, we're still in the circle. We can hear teams around us. We have the high ground at this point. Let's get up top. Let's get those Watson fences down. People are going to be hiding at this point because they're going to be dodging people on the other end of the high ground. So now we can start to lay down fire, pick up some kills as well as placement here.
Now we're going to see the rotation in, and there's going to be a team caught out there. Cooler are going to be stuck between a rock and a hot place. They'll be burnt to the ground. Lagger going to be the last man standing here. MVP comes in and takes the kills. NRG still in the battle here, Dan. They've managed to sneak their way through into a top 4 position.
You don't see much of NRG. You can see 4 kills for Dizzy as well. So just 2 of them surviving at the moment, but they're able to shield up, and they've got purple shields as well. So there is a massive chance for them to actually take this game if they can creep up and maybe pick up a kill against MVP, who have situated themselves so well for the circle.
Well, look at what Acer's got in the back pocket as well. He's got the Peacekeeper, he's got the R99, and he's looking to make a play as well. Mondo going to be watching those stairs as well. He closes the door, and there's a little peek there, which is going to drop the shields. And here go MVP. They decide they want to try and take down NRG, but they've rotated outside as well.
MVP saying, all right, if you want to take a couple of shots at us, we're going to actually back you down, and we're going to give you a little bit of a warning.
Thank you, bhai. 3.5k
Circle number 7 closing in 1 minute and 10 seconds, and that means there will be no circle left to stand in, no safe zone whatsoever. So we will definitely see this game won in the next minute.
789
for the lovely support.
MVP. We've seen
कौन है मोटा भाई
those two going head to head numerous times already in just the first 2 moments of this game, and now we're going to see all being set up down for that final circle.
Yeah, just dancing around as much as possible so that when you do go through that portal, it actually takes so much time to get you through to the other end of the portal that you can prioritize the situation where you're not taking damage from the circle. I mean, we see a lot of teams try and do it, and you really have to make sure you have an ult with weight if you want to go for that play in the later stages.
Coolers still have 1 player alive here.
Holy shit,
Barely alive, to be honest with you, as far as HP is concerned, but he's still in this game, and if he can kind of avoid a battle here and let 789, NRG, and MVP go about their business, not only can he put up a couple of points here as far as kills are concerned, he could also get some placement points as we see MVP just getting aggressive again, laying down that portal, and now they might be able to actually teleport behind and put those shots in as they're forcing the movement.
Got 2 portals up. Both teams are now going to try and dance between these portals, try and survive as best as they can. Wraith's going to use their Q to ensure that they can avoid the damage as well. All carnage going to unfold here. It's just a survival game at this point. Lay down as much shots as possible.
789 then are going to be dropped down shields. They're in all sorts of problems, having to Q out of the position. Here comes the push here. NRG are going to be taken down by 789. The carnage is about to ensue. 789 still managed to stay alive. MVP not pushing this quite yet, Dan.
You can see how quickly they push the man and they get the shots on the player who was just coming out of the portal there. And it's 789 yet again picking up the victory. Incredible positioning from them. Great tactical decisions as well. Yes, okay, MVP had the early circle, but 789 were able to position themselves where they forced MVP to move towards them so they could get those shots on that final player coming through the portal.
10 kills again here for 789. 2 first places in the first 2 games. A combined 24 kills. These guys are for real, Dan. These are championship contenders.
I mean, it's actually pretty terrifying when you look at those kind of statistics, and I think everyone watching on will be saying, all right, this 789 squad are someone that we need to be looking out for. But again, it was their shot calling ability, and of course we can't hear what they're saying, the in-game leader.
Exactly, next level pasta.
They're looking at the right angles. They're utilizing the ultimates in the right situations as well. Everything down to a T there from 789. A very well played game from MVP, I will say. It's a difficult game to play when you drop, you have the circle, because for a team like MVP who likes to be aggressive, I'm sure they were just itching to get out and take so many fights, and I think that's why when that opportunity was presented, they instantly jumped up top and started actually looking for a couple of kills.
NRG then with a decent placement in that game as well. We'll take a look at some of the replays from our second game here of Group B action. This was one of those games, Dan, it seemed like with that particular circle that we had towards the end, a lot of teams were being caught on rotation, trying to push in. And we saw quite a lot of engagements across the duration of that particular game.
I mean, realistically, it was the weapon decision, the weaponry decision that we saw from a lot of these teams that were able to help them in that late game. If you know that the circle is going to be in a situation like that around relay, you know there's going to be a lot of close quarter combat, so it's so important to have an R99. But also, when you know a circle has pushed that heavily towards one side of the map, there's going to be a lot of late rotations where people are going to be vulnerable from those longbow shots as well. So the longbow plus R99 was such a huge combination of weapons, but we also saw the devotion ripping through shields as well. I mean, some players are amazing when they're able to get a devotion with a turbocharger. However, if they're not able to get that devotion with turbocharger, we really see them struggle. But a couple of players actually picking that one up in this game.
789 again, just clutching up in these final moments. You'll see Mondo dropping, Ace dropping, 789 just cleaning house. And we're going to see the last player just popping through the portal, no shields whatsoever. And that is the easiest way to finish a game. 789, I mean, they're probably the least relevant numbers at the moment, to be honest with you. The most relevant ones are 2 games, 2 wins.
And really, they've done it in
बहुत
such
सारी
dominating
हैं।
fashion. I mean, we've seen teams win
Ben
before with
100 plus
maybe a
watching
few
हुई
kills,
थी।
4 kills, 5 kills, but the fact they've been able to
Raid
do
में
it
ऐसे
with
होता है,
that many
100
kills,
plus watching
14 and then 10, I mean, they've been able to secure 48 points just from 2 games, is amazing. That would put them 2 points off the match point threshold if we were in the grand final right now. Just to give you an indication of how good they've been playing. But Group B was one of these groups where there was a lot of questions around the teams. Are they going to be as good as potentially the groups A and C, where we see a lot of teams that came from X Games that are tried and tested that we've seen in so many of these pro lobbies? But 789 really are taking advantage of this. And I think they are a team that went under the radar a little bit in a lot of people's predictions as to who was going to be coming out of this group with ease.
Well, looking across some of the results we had from our first game as well, that's certainly going to boost a couple of placements up, but that's going to do it all from our second
ये
game
जिसका
right
फोटो
now.
दिखा रहा है
Actually,
इसका हालत
back
खराब
over
है
to the
लैंड
guys on
प्रेशर
the
से
desk on the
पूरा
screen.
स्वेट कर रहा है
Enjoy the action.
जबकि एसी लगा हुआ होगा पूरा हालत खराब है
निहार thank you sir bye
On set, thank you so much, brother. Fallout here, back with some new face. Just
Where?
face.
A new face.
Just
Where?
new face. A new face.
A new fantastic
Can't find him.
face. Thank you.
Maybe somewhere under the desk here. It's my man Rain Day. How you doing, brother?
Oh, Rain Day. ये Smite का caster है.
For the first time.
ये Paladin का caster है. Smite खेलता था इसके साथ हम लोग.
For sure, of course.
Exactly.
Alongside Jameson here, who's been on the desk killing with the analysis all day long. We also got some like matching jacket situation going on.
We're looking good.
It's not coordinated. I swear to God.
Coordinated or something. I don't know.
GG 789
There's
GG.
talent teams in synergy, but I know Rain, you had a chance to watch a lot of that Group B match. Of course, match number 1 and match number 2. I think the one thing that stands out the
तो
most.
उसमें से सारे
Team
disqualify हो जाएंगे ना
789,
60 टीम.
by the way, outperformed Wyvern in their first.
ये क्या हुआ?
Well, what we looked at with this group, which is so interesting, is that
Black-
there's a dynamic
black
between we
screen
don't
हो गया
really
मेरा.
know who's
Black
going to
हो
step
गया,
up. Obviously, Energy was the team that everyone kind of had their eyes on. How
789
for him, but 789 ended up stealing the show. Talked about game 1. You guys didn't catch all of it, but Penta were in a beautiful spot on the top of skill count, trying to rotate in. And Sentinel's also a team we've been looking out for that had done very well. We're in the only building left in that final circle. 789 not only pushed off Penta and took the high ground, they were able to go into Sentinels, win some 1v1s. You saw Exons doing it there. He did it before in game 1. So this is just an incredible performance from a team that's kind of showing us they are here to play.
तो बोलता है close eyes for full screen.
Squad against the Sentinels roster, who played well at the X Games. Of course, we have Pain on that team.
मेरी कोरियंस किधर है? वो तो हो गया उनका. वो एक भी
standing behind roster, there might be some players on this team that not many people know. I know one in particular.
TSM का कौन है? TSM अभी नहीं आया.
Is in Desu with a
And the
great
blue hair.
performance.
And the blue hair. What's so cool about the secondary group right now with B is that we have pretty much 3 of the representatives that are girls playing in this competition in that group. So we have Dream It, which is the
Sally
all-girls team
Sally
as
की
well. We
team
have Forehead,
total
which has
number पे
Lens,
third है.
Strange for Dick and Toss is
Group
playing for
में.
Forehead. And of course, we have Desu, who is representing so well for this team. And really, it's just about competition. Who's playing so great? You really can't tell. There's no difference. This 789 team is here to play. And honestly, the dynamic that they're presenting is great teamwork, but also positionally understanding when to approach fights, picking off third parties, or when they need to be patient. I've noticed that they just seem to know what they all need to do, and they're not trying to step on each other's toes.
I mean, leading up to this event, 789 was a team name that was constantly coming up in streams left and right. Because, you know, these players, they're hopping into each other's streams, they're talking to each other, they're asking, you know, who do you think scary is? What do you think is going to be like the group of death? And a lot of teams thought maybe Group B, maybe Group C. Group B is showing why. 789, relatively unknowns, but well-known amongst the community itself, and they are already proving themselves with 48 points across 2 games.
Oh my God.
Unbelievable.
48 points. They dropped.
अबे शक्ल दिखाओ ना कहाँ चली गई?
It was first place
in the first game.
And yeah, it's 2 first places now.
2 back-to-back first place finishes.
Unreal.
And by the way, only 2 points away from that 50-point threshold, which again, if you're just joining, the grand finals of this tournament has one of the most unique formats. I mean, the entire tournament is a unique format. Shout out to EA's competitive gaming team. But in that grand final, you have to reach a 50-point threshold and win the following game. Well, if they somehow broke that 50-point threshold, 1 more game away from winning in 3 games is kind of crazy. 48 points. This is the best team performance we've seen so far in our 2 matches.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, I believe they had a better performance than Wyvern had on their game number 1, right? Where they got about 16 kills and then 9 points off of just placements alone. And so already 789 right out the gates, already taking the lead.
And one of the things that was interesting about that 789 win, which we're starting to notice, we all know the longbow meta is here to stay. That's going to be a part of this tournament no matter what. But
ट्विच पे सही चल रहा है।
ट्विच पे चल रहा है,
Every
हाँ।
single one has that low profile passive at that point where they take 5% extra damage. And that longbow, that 5% adds up really quickly. And so one good headshot, and at that point, that's a battery out, that's a med kit out, that's a lot of healing, and that's going to slow down your rotations like you had mentioned. That's a great point.
And Peacekeeper combo still in there as well for some close quarters action. SMG shotgun still hanging in there. Peacekeeper kind of went away for a tiny little bit, and of course came back. Good to see the Peacekeeper as a former Gears of War player. I like to see some shotgun action. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna lie, but a great performance from 789. The Russians coming over, all three players from Russia.
Oh, 789 Russian team है.
But let's talk a little about NRG.
Holy
The
shit.
team that came into this
Russians जीत
tournament,
गए
talk of the
भाई.
tournament. We got some Dizzy fans in the
कोई
chat.
गेम में
I'm
Russians
sure.
अच्छे हैं,
Good
what the
performance here
fuck?
in match number 2. I know you mentioned, Evan, that we didn't see a great performance in match 1.
21,000 चल रही है भाई
I
Twitch
think
पे
NRG
watching.
have been a little quiet, and I think that's something that understandable, considering the fact that they're coming into this with a lot of pressure and a lot of eyes. It's unavoidable to think that they're aware of how people are observing their play. So like we saw in round 1, everyone was saying, we're going to see some aggression, or are we going to see some total chill? Let's see what it is, the first game of Poland. I think we're seeing that from NRG maybe a little bit more extreme, where they're waiting it out, not trying to take too many risks and end up on the bad side of a trade.
बाप रे बाप, तू कितना रोस्ट करता है लोगों को उनके
Wayside. Round 1 wasn't about
बस
them.
बाप
It was
पूछ
7, 8,
तो
9.
रहा हूँ
It was
कितने तिल
Signals.
हैं?
It was Penta.
क्या
Round 2
कौन
were
मैं
much
कैसे
more,
बताऊं?
as far as in their favor and kind of showcasing that they're
किन कंडीशन है
Yeah,
भाई वो?
definitely getting into position there. I mean, these are, two players on that team, some of the biggest streamers here in Apex, and so a lot of eyes, a lot of scrutiny on them, and that kind of pressure can weigh on you, but I'm glad to see that here in game number 2, they were able to tighten up and get a top 3 finish in this round, and especially put themselves into contention to move on to play on later on in the day.
Yeah, of course, Ace, arguably a top 3, top 5 player in the game, playing alongside Dizzy, who burst into fame. I mean, his story is unbelievable. I know his dad is here in Poland as well, cheering him on and representing. Big shout out to Dizzy and Father Dizzy as they're looking to...
Papa Dizzy.
Papa Dizzy, that's him in the chat. Papa Dizzy as they're looking for a great match number 3. Second place in match number 2. They secured themselves some kills.
मेरा बफर नहीं हो रहा है Twitch.
Another team that
मेरा
we
भी नहीं हो
continue to
रहा.
talk about is MVP. Coming off a
नहीं
great
भाई
match
बस एक सर्वर चाहिए अच्छा सा
A
फिर काउंट
series,
कर ले जब तक ये
Wyvern
बकचोदी कर रहे
performance from
हैं
South Korea. Now MVP.
क्या बोल रहा है?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like
Kill नहीं
MVP is
पता,
having a little bit of a slower
just के
start.
सब हैं
Didn't
बोल
have the greatest game in game number 1, but here, game number 2, able to get it out into the final
3.
ends the final 3, and so it does bode well for them. Again, we weren't
Arena
able to
अच्छा लग
quite
रहा है
see
देखने
exactly
में
what
ना?
the drops were, but
बहुत
MVP
अच्छा
was a team that would really just try and ego on everyone during the scrims, right? They would try and contest at Repulsor, contest at Hydro, and make sure that, they made sure that everyone knew that this was our landing spot. But it has to come down to rotations. What was going on with MVP?
It's interesting because I think MVP have a little bit of the, it's weird, they're playing a little different than their usual. Like you mentioned, the aggro expected of them. Not what we've seen. This is really where they came alive towards the end. I think we're just seeing a little bit more of a cautiousness to begin this tournament. I expect more of that personality to come out day 2, or maybe in some of the later rounds, especially if they end up getting knocked to losers, which doesn't look likely now with the top 5 finish that we just saw. But overall, very solid performance. You can tell they got it in them. I think everyone's still just holding their foot, not really going straight on the gas pedal yet. Don't want to hit
7-9 के fan हो गया बेंच
A couple other teams here in Group B that we got to see how they perform
Chat
in
में
match
लिख रहा है
number
chat
3.
7-9 का fan हो गया
Obviously, Energy want to see how they continue to perform. We got Penta, who I know you
Which
have
fit
hype
yes.
for as well. In addition to teams like Cooler, we'll see how Cooler can perform, and if they can break that threshold. Sentinels, will they continue their dominance as well? But break down the Penta squad for me. You had them listed as a dark horse.
देख के Apex खेलेगा तो यार मन कर
One of
रहा
the
है.
dark horse teams in this entire tournament for me, because
After 2 matches of winner round 1, first group B, team 7-9 Penta and MVP are in the top 3 of this group.
It was Nesh that I was looking at because he was a player that I followed pretty closely in Overwatch.
Was the best AD team in the world compete at the event.
World Cup. Yeah, he ended up being in the World Cup for Team Germany. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Twice.
The team with most kills, 21 in winner rounds group 1A.
And in these games, even though there is bullet travel, right,
Gambit
he still has the aim and he has that deadliness.
19.
And so being able to pair a DPS player with
And
some
Team Liquid.
VR kind of pros who have that kind of history
18.
and being able to wrangle that in and kind of focus in that DPS.
It does
no
idea.
Well. It certainly does. I think you have to understand too, being a competitor of just any game and having a breadth of knowledge in multiple titles you've competed in gives you a relative advantage in competing in a BR, especially because it can be so straightforward sometimes. But when you add things like just tactically positioning, working with other teammates in a bit of more of a squad formation, some of that prep is going to help them. And I think Pins are showing that they are experienced. They're a team to look out for.
Maybe
I actually expect them them to make easily top 10, maybe top 5 over the next few games as well, as we saw here earlier. But they're a squad that I think you have to look out for.
Yeah, at this point, it's about closing.
बहुत hard
right?
होता है भाई, बहुत hard होता है
game
game.
now, and it looks like we do have a pretty clear favorite top 5.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting?
Top 1 for sure. I mean, that's cemented.
Top
48
one,
points already.
absolutely.
For sure.
7, 8, 9, man.
You know, watching those matches, though, I was really surprised that the Sonics didn't get a little bit more action. They died 18th and they died 17th, and this is a highly, interesting team. And I think you look at Wicked and you look at Sanct, these are guys that I would have been expecting to perform a little more, so I'm looking more for them in round 3.
Yep, that's for sure. So many teams in this Group B. Group A, Group B, a little bit lighter in the heavy competition. We're still waiting for the likes of TSM, Space Station, etc. to compete. A lot of people saying Group C and Group D are our groups of death. Well, they'll be matched up in winners bracket round 2. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves, though, by any means, because Group B is still underway. The action is at a peak. 7, 8, 9 undoubtedly securing themselves the #1 spot right now. Can they continue their dominance? Group B stream coming up next in just a bit.
acer next your player भाई इस बंदे को का मुंह देखो.
My proudest moment would be just being able to compete with my teammates.
Proudest moment Apex
and,
Legends.
Just being here to win.
Hitting 3 Kraber no scopes in a row.
그러니까 혼자 3명 다 잡았을 때.
My proudest moment in Apex Legends was when I finally stopped falling off the ledges.
Being here at this tournament.
Getting signed to Fnatic.
Proudest moment is probably winning the first ever Twitch Rivals tournament for the game. Probably the proudest moment for me.
Proudest moment in Apex so far would probably be winning the TwitchCon EU tournament in Berlin, just because it was a massive prize pool and it was just really exciting playing on the big stage.
My proudest moment probably would be Nicewig hyping me up after I made a really good play in scrims. He called me the Muhammad Ali of Apex.
Signed to 100 Thieves.
Y un clutch, donde vos vas 1 contra 3 y te matas a todo el equipo. Cuando las posibilidades son nulas prácticamente.
2 вторых места подряд на Apex Pro EU лиги. Play safe and slow.
I would just say play the game as much as you can.
#1 tip for beginners.
You'll grow with it.
Find other people to play with.
देखा है मैंने Dexter.
Definitely stay consistent. Keep your head up and just keep grinding.
Just go for hot drop. Take as many fights as you can.
Move and shoot at the same time.
My #1 tip would be learn the game, learn the mechanics, learn the map, play to improve rather than play to win, and slowly you'll be getting a victory.
The #1 tip I'd give to new players is to always use shield supplies before health supplies, just because you can find them quicker. So.
I think it's any of the Sentinels guys.
Who's the best in the world?
Me?
I feel like there is no best player in the world. There's a lot of very skilled and talented players out there, and I don't feel like there will ever be a best. And that's just kind of how I see it, but there's a lot of good players out there.
The best Apex player in the world would be my 2 teammates, Sweet Dreams.
No one is the best.
韓国のセリ
Yes.
Oh, that's tough. Maybe Retzi from Sentinels or Ace from Energy.
Selly from Korea.
Aseo, maybe, or DC.
I don't know. It kind of bounces around a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think one player is more outstanding than majority of them.
Me, of course. Of course. No question.
Y es complicado. Estamos jugando contra los mejores equipos del mundo y hay muchos jugadores que se destacan. Así que nombrar a uno sería menospreciar a los demás.
It's a tough question because we're fighting the best in the world. Naming one would mean underestimating the rest. Exactly.
Well, I don't think it counts as a superhero ability, but
Sentinels होंगी सब मार गए एक बच्चा के साथ जो stream देख
I
रहा
feel
हूँ.
like my superpower would be to control time.
Definitely flying.
I'd love to be able to read people's minds.
Time travel.
Teleportation.
Maybe flying, because it'd be fast and it'd be fun at the same time, so. Or maybe like cloaking, go invisible. That'd be kind of cool.
My superhero power would be to go invisible.
I'd like to fly. Flying would be super cool. Just to see everything from above.
Smoothie.
What does an Apex Predator eat for breakfast?
Coffee. Drink coffee. Well, in my case, I usually don't eat anything for breakfast.
Smoothie?
I would say Apex Predator eats Gibraltars for breakfast.
बड़े-बड़े बालों वाला कौन है भाई?
Definitely meat.
Hamburger.
Eggs. We don't eat. We always get up past noon, and then we go straight to scrims, and hopefully eat after that.
Nothing. Don't eat breakfast really that much. Game on an empty stomach.
Bronze players.
そもそも朝の時間までは練習してるんで朝ごはんは食べてないですね。
Honestly, probably nothing. Most of us.
ये कह रहा होगा मैं कॉकरोच खाता हूँ?
Don't eat breakfast actually. I just like to wait until I am awake for a few hours before I eat because I don't feel good if I eat breakfast right away.
Of course.
Downtown, market.
Can you name 5 different locations?
Airbase.
TSM की team same है ना?
Runoff, repulsor, swamps, hydro, water treatment.
Yeah, Skulltown, bunker, airbase, slums, swamps.
Artillery, gauntlet, bunker town, pit, and swamps.
Skulltown, repulsor, hydro dam, slums, and airbase.
Scout Town, market, Thunderdome, relay, wetland.
Absolutely. Containment, pit, airbase, artillery, lab, gauntlet, Skulltown, Thunderdome. Keep going. Water treatment, repulsor, hydro dam, swamps, slums, bunker, the cage, market, runoff. I think that's about all of them. Relay, wetlands.
Skulltown, airbase, runoff, slum lakes, and artillery.
Labs, cage, runoff, and airbase.
Cage, market, Skulltown, artillery.
क्या कोई idea है season 3 reset का? नहीं भाई.
Swamps, school, thunder, uy, y ahí me quedé, y runoff.
School?
Hello and welcome back to the Apex Legends Preseason Invitational here. Fallout now back with Jamerson and Glitter. We missed you, Glitter. Evan did a great job filling in, but we missed you here on deck.
I missed you guys too.
So much. You see a beautiful shot of that studio here on screen.
तेरे को याद है वो गेंजी टीम जो एक्स गेम्स में हर बार मर जा रही थी? वो भी वो खेल रही है. इसी राउंड में मैं देखा अभी उनका नाम राइट में गेंजी.
Echo Fox, a team that you see that Glitter. I know you identified as a dark horse. Talk about this Echo Fox roster.
एनर्जी कहाँ है?
So Echo Fox actually has a bunch of players that have come from various previous various teams within the BR genre as a whole. I have high hopes for them. I mean, they have some.
वो 3 लेटर एनर्जी है ना? हाँ.
वही होगी हाँ.
Sometimes so. I don't know. I think that they could if they get it together for this game.
TSM right side नीचे बैठी है.
Surprise a lot of the teams that are going to be in the group with them.
I like that.
ये इस लड़की के पीछे, इस लड़की के
मालूम है, देख गया भाई, देख गया भाई.
Great job with accuracy in some of those bold
ये लड़की कौन है? टिस्ट उसका.
अरे
दे दो सर जी, रवि भाई कह रहे हैं सर कोचिंग दे दो सर जी.
For Dark Horses in particular, I'm actually looking at Space Station.
Cool and Thunderdome.
I like best of performances. They didn't have the best of performances at
Cool कहाँ है Apex में भाई?
अरे Skull Town को School Town बोलते हैं
सर. Competitor, he's been in the competitive scene for a long time now. You know, he's moved on from Overwatch to Realm Royale, and now here he is in Apex Legends. You know, he's got the mentality where he just wants to learn the game and be able to teach the game too, right? If you're going to be able to teach the game, you should be able to learn, right? So at that point, I think Bird does contribute to the team. He is going to be replacing Mopork, and I think he might just be that X factor that Space Station need to be able to do better in this competition.
Yeah,
oh, Space Station भी है.
Of course, you look at the placements at X Games, they got dead last, literally 20th place. That's of course just a different roster.
There's only one way to go.
And it's skyrocketing, pun intended, all the way to the moon here. We'll see is that going to happen. But I do like that call out. I think Bird's a great pickup for this squad, and had a chance to talk to Logically actually a little bit ago, and very impressed. I mean, 17 years old, comes from the Fortnite scene originally, switched to Apex immediately because he fell in love with the game, and now he's looking to make a name for himself here on the main stage. I'm excited to see what Space Station can do.
Yeah, but they have to go through TSM. How can we not talk about them? TSM taking first and pretty handily over at X Games, and it's off the back of all three of the players. They all had their individual performances all throughout the day. Imperial Hal, Reps. I mean, we have to talk about that 1v1 that took place, remember, over at Bridges, where Hal's blocking for him, Reps is like, I got this, and then it was nuts. It was nuts.
That was such a good reenactment of what happened for them.
TSM. Exactly how it went down too. I got it, block me, and he blocked him. It was great, yeah.
Yeah, TSM, you can't ignore them, of course. First place, and that's one of the big things to look out for. Can they reclaim their throne as the number one team? Can they stay on top of that mountain?
Indian team is a
back in Battle Royale. It's kind of scary to have.
I mean, absolutely, and I feel like they probably know that going in. It's not like it's a secret that they've done well or that they did well at X Games, that they've continued to do well in scrims. So I think that they know that there is potential for some teams, specifically maybe some of the newer teams, to potentially be gunning straight for them, and I'm sure they're prepared for it.
I mean, you go all the way back to when Hal was still playing with T-Hump and Aces. This was still a team that was very macro-oriented, and we saw that at X Games, and they've been doing it for many, many months now, and it didn't matter where their drop was, whether it was slums or artillery. Now moving over to the cage, they have a much more centralized location. We got to see them.
India का player है इसमें Taxi 2G.
Even when they had a bad economy.
HRO है वो energy नहीं है.
Of course, Team Kurt, which consists of Kurt, BCJ,
ये round
and
ये
Zerg,
group C चल रहा है क्या?
They're not Kurt's not selfish. Shout out to Kurt. And obviously Misfits.
Oh हाँ ये group C चल रहा है.
I know that was a solid performance at X Games.
हाँ NRG और TSM same नहीं थी. Nice.
I do. I'm very excited to watch the Misfits play. I think that they have the potential to do some
winners round
really impressive gameplay.
अच्छा.
See how they do with potentially these games specifically, because if there's anyone in their group that's going to decide.
What do you think of team strategy of these games? I see them camping. Obviously, you have to hold up.
देखो ना नीचे क्या लिख रहा है? TSM rep said that they are focusing more on placement over elimination, and TSM routinely found themselves among the top 5 finishers, including Game 8 first place finish.
They had a really wide drop zone. And you have to be able to press that early game advantage into the mid game, into the late game, and they should have been eliminations.
Yeah, well, we keep talking about a lot of these massive organizations, great performances at X Games, etc. But really, in Group B, it was Team 789, a team not many people
देखो रवि भाई कितना गुस्सा में है.
Within the last couple of weeks, but coming from Russia.
अच्छा नहीं वो तो बैंगलोर है. My bad.
48 points with Estezu.
NRG का कितना रैंक है नहीं पता चला bro. मैंने नहीं देखा. YouTube एकदम बंद हो गया ना.
Can it be Singularity? Can it be some of these lesser known teams?
YouTube पे black screen आ गया.
Selector
Mendo उसमें team liquid में है.
Representing the Asian region, 5 teams coming from Asia.
लेकिन वो गया नहीं खेलने क्योंकि उसको कोई फायदा नहीं था.
A lot of key stories here.
I mean, if we're gonna try and find a parallel between Group B and Group D, I think the closest one would be Segelbert, right? 789. A lot of people talked about them. Segelbert was another team.
Hello, Preeti. How are you?
Everyone in the community was talking about and was hyping up, but I don't think anyone outside of the community really knew about them.
Yeah, and then they're
पता नहीं
hit.
hit.
Will kind of tie into our discussion with
हम लोग पूछो मैं और मर्डॉक भी देखना चाह रहे थे एनर्जी का पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू देखने ही नहीं मिला.
There might be an issue there.
I like that.
I'm just
I like
saying.
the sound of that. That's
I like those hot drops. I love those hot drops.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Group C matchup. I know Space Station and Tempo Storm both land near each other. Sorry, not Space Station. FlyQuest and Tempo Storm in Group C both land near each other. So, of course, when Group C gets underway here in about an hour, you can expect that as well. But for Group D, that might be a little bit of an early matchup. We haven't seen a ton of early game fights. We've seen people respecting territories so far. You think that's going to change here in Group D?
Even Shroud should compete. It will be awesome.
फायदा नहीं है ना उसको compete करने में. उसको लॉस होगा ना पैसे का अगर वो compete करे.
भाई सारे वो वायरलेस माउस यूज कर रहे हैं भाई क्या बात.
They've drawn a lot of ire from the community because they play that style. You're not playing proper scrims. This isn't good practice. You know what? End of the day,
come on.
if you're getting those
hacker motherfucker. तू hello कैसा है रे? मैं एकदम बढ़िया रे.
वरना finally होगा
टूर्नामेंट देखो.
chill करो.
Of course, Jump talking about Team Kick. It's put that together. You got Jump Kick. It's some great stuff going on here.
But
the
then
team
it
names.
Back to Mimu.
Yeah, exactly. Between Team Kurt, of course Kick Esports gonna be representing throughout. We've got some great team names and some good vocabulary and wordplay so far. But Group D action about to be underway. The likes of Echo Fox. One team we haven't talked about yet is Fnatic EU. Their counterparts on the North American side, who arguably are considered to be the better team, did perform with a 5th place finish in their first match. You think EU is going to do the same thing?
Yeah, this is crazy because we're going to actually be able to see a Fnatic versus Fnatic.
अरे मेरे को बैंगलोर का क्यों आवाज आ रहा है?
Grand finals or
क्या?
maybe the lower bracket.
और रवि भाई का आवाज आ रहा है.
This Fnatic, Nicola, and DCT, they do have the capabilities. Again, it's a lot of competitors that have very deep backgrounds in FNS. It's coming over from
अरे क्या चल रहा है? आज आप सीन नहीं किए सुबह?
Experience here, and I think the
हैं?
while I
हैं?
would like
आज छुट्टी मारे काम करने के लिए?
where Nicola goes into more of a fragile position on a Pathfinder or a
क्या? ओह कुछ नया बनाया क्या?
I think this team can really shine. Nicola's I've been watching his stream a lot, and he has been one of the proponents of doing a lot of like wall jump movements, and that's very rarely seen because it does put yourself into like a lot of tight positions. It can be really useful if you're going to try and beat someone.
Yeah, animation's a little bit slow, so it could be high risk, high reward.
कितना चल रहा है
individual skill
अभी start नहीं हुआ ना? एक हुआ.
नहीं, Group 1, Group A, Group B खत्म हो गया. Group C चल.
We'll see that evolve.
अच्छा, Group C चल रहा है.
This is just the preseason. We got some great things ahead of us, and we can definitely expect.
Group C बहुत hard है सब बोल रहे थे क्योंकि बहुत सारा बड़ा टीम है Group C.
We've talked about a few players. You mentioned Fnatic.
Group C बहुत hard है.
हाँ, क्योंकि Fnatic, EU, Team Liquid Blue, TSM, Space Station, Singularity, Sinister, ये सारी टीम तो Group C में ही है.
भाई ये वाला मैच तो देखने वाला होगा.
वही तो बोल रहे हैं. सारी बड़ी टीम
भाई ना सही में ही है साला.
Good BR background.
You love those BR background
There's
folks,
so many of them. That's the problem, and it's a very small community, so everybody kind of knows everyone, and everyone's been playing for a very long time. So I expect.
India's a forsaken.
And honestly, after the performance at X Games, I think they could have also been one of those top 5 finishers if they had been able to close out 2 more games. We saw, I believe it was Game 7 or Game 8 on the second day of X Games where they had.
X भैया क्या कर रहे हैं? X भैया भी वही देख रहे हैं क्या?
On a row on the airbase wall. If they had been able to close that.
हाँ जी, कैसे हो जी?
Group B में
क्या हाल चाल?
अरे मैं लूंगी उठा के एकदम बढ़िया जी.
बढ़िया जी.
Group B में एक प्लेयर का हालत खराब हो गया, ठीक है? 2 बार उसकी टीम बहुत नीचे आई. जर्सी उतार के उसका पसीना निकलने लग गया उसको.
This is Group D, man.
Oh, this is Group D?
Coming up
है ना?
Group D.
You name it. Everyone's kind of gathered and realized, man, this game is pretty good. Takes
Coming
a lot.
up. No,
Rahul.
Let's commit to this game because who did not fall in love with Apex Legends when it
Not
first
to
came
be
out?
truthful, I see you and their skills. I don't see much difference. कब start होगा tournament? बस अभी होने.
अरे हम लोग को लैंड खिलाओ ना फिर दिखाते हैं.
It was just
हम
so
लोग
much
को
fun to
लैंड
play,
खिलाओ
and,
ना.
like, you know, at level 100 you find out you don't get any more loot boxes unless it's like levels and stuff like that, but it was still fine. It was just so much fun.
नाक में नथ नहीं पहन के आए थे.
A nice marriage between a lot of
500k का tournament है ना.
हाँ, but like बड़ा नहीं है, नहीं समझ रहे ना.
Next one will be big.
240 प्लेयर हैं भाई.
उसमें distribute भी
और
होगा.
उसमें 60 टीम को तो पैसा ही नहीं मिलेगा जो नहीं फाइनल राउंड तक क्वालीफाई करेंगे.
From a bunch of different games and then kind of improved upon it.
They will go to welcome.
और ट्रैवल और अकोमोडेशन भी नहीं दिया है.
लूंगी उठा के तुम्हारे सोच.
Easy swapping between all of your equipment and like your attachments on your guns. It felt so good. Felt very intuitive. I mean, still.
अरे स्टार्ट कर दो भाई प्लीज, वरना मैं ही खोल के खेलने लग जाऊंगा.
It's not like one's OP and there's balancing issues. At the end of the day,
अरे वो तो अपने टाइम से स्टार्ट करेंगे.
Come from Counter-Strike. Of course, love Apex Legends for that reason. A lot to love with
Which headphones they're using? I need to buy.
अरे वो हेडफोन वो है नॉइज कैंसलिंग हेडफोन है, उसके अंदर ईयरफोन पहने रहते हैं.
To love, of course, as we're getting ready to kick off winners round.
वो हेडफोन में साउंड कंप्यूटर में नहीं कनेक्टेड है वो हेडफोन.
welcome Fallout here. And
Who is
I'll tell you
leading?
right now,
Group
my
A
favorite part
में
about this tournament so far has
Group
been
A
the
में
new
G2
structure
Esports.
and format for this tournament. In case you missed it,
Group
for the
B का
first
नहीं
time
मालूम, ये
ever,
Group C
we
है
have
शायद.
double elimination bracket in a major BR tournament. That's right, winners bracket and losers bracket. The ability to bounce back from losers and make it to that championship final is real. All teams, all players make it back to Saturday, which probably feels good when you travel all the way to Poland, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for some of these players, especially the Europeans, it was only about like a 2-hour flight. But, you know, for everyone coming from NA, we did
Korea, Australia, South America.
The Australian flight must have been an absolute doozy at that point. I know, like, coming from LA to Australia, it was about a 15-hour, 16-hour flight, so I can't imagine doing that across the Atlantic.
Misfits भी हैं क्या बात?
Thank you.
So we have a lot of Australian representatives, too.
And Alliance did well.
That's true. That's a great call out. Really, every region has been representing. You know, we saw in Group A a team from South America, a team from Korea, a team from Europe.
Mendo तो उनके लिए है ना, Team Liquid के लिए खेल रहा है.
हाँ, but वो नहीं, LAN नहीं आया उसको.
No, LAN नहीं in the chat. Let us hear it. But it seems like it's pretty well dispersed here.
This might be one of the more diverse groups, though, because we have 2 Japanese teams.
That's
I
true.
believe we have.
तो करेगा ही. ये डिएगो भी कर रहा होगा स्ट्रीम. मगर ये सब तो हाँ वो तो मगर ये तो स्ट्रीमर्स है ना, उनके टीम के स्ट्रीमर्स हैं. They are not even substitutes.
They are not professional players. They are
content
creators for TSM.
Content creators.
Really North American dominated tournament. Is it safe to say TSM is the best team in the world at this point, or do you think this tournament will tell?
वो फाइनल माउस यूज कर रहे हैं क्या?
Bold prediction if we were to make it.
If you're to make it, it is, yep.
It's fairly pretty.
TSM wins though, you sound really smart though, so I'm just saying, they haven't even played yet, so be careful.
It is fairly agreed upon amongst the community
that they are the best in the
TSM
world.
is, basically
बताओ
one of
यार.
the best teams in the world with some of the best
Murdoch
players
भाई.
in the world also. And so I
Contact
think I
करो
would be
यार.
comfortable saying that, yes.
Wow.
You are.
Yes.
LAN खेला जाए यार.
I called him a politician earlier. He has officially redeemed himself. No longer a politician. Welcome back to esports, buddy.
Hill I die on.
Actually, and they're on top of it. They're on top of
Hill
it.
then. I mean, we got HRO, right?
Oh,
We're talking about X Games.
Sarao.
And Overpowered, actually, from C9 will be playing with Hill and RKN here. And so this is going to be Hill and
Shroud
RKN's
क्यों
first
है?
kind of
क्योंकि
introduction into the
Shroud
scene
is
for
streamer.
everyone who's
उसने
a new
अपना
viewer and,
professional
like, new to
career
the
छोड़
community.
दिया
So
है.
I'm
He is
pretty
now
excited to
full-time
see what
streamer.
HRO can do here.
That's why.
No, absolutely. And
अगर वो खेलेगा टूर्नामेंट तो उसको पैसा लिटरली लॉस होगा. इतना बड़ा उसका चैनल है.
वही ना, उससे ज़्यादा उसको लॉस हो जाएगा.
अभी भी हमारी स्क्वाड उसकी 1 HP
when everybody has made it through, the people that deserve to be in the finals that are there, that have played well, that's where things might get shaken up a little bit.
Yeah, that's for sure. TSM is known to have that clutch factor, though. Is
Khari kaisa hai tu?
Deny that based on how they played at X Games. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Of course, you could tweet using the hashtag Apex Invitational. Tweet at myself at Fallout Glitter Explosion here and Jamerson. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Maybe read some of them. Join in the discussion.
ये साले भाई Apex Legend की स्ट्रीम पे भी देखो ये कौन है 205 लोग जो डिसलाइक करके गए. कहाँ से आते हैं ये सब?
Any female players in this? All male? नहीं बहुत सारे female players हैं.
बहुत female players.
बहुत ज़्यादा. Like मैंने तो खुद 4 देखा. 4 या 5 मैंने खुद देखा.
Our side stream is showing the Group B match right now, and they've been really dominating. But will it be another unknown team, or will it be the greats in TSM or the likes of Fnatic EU? Time will tell. It looks like the match is ready to get set here. Bravo and Dreadnought are ready to call the action. Gentlemen, take it away.
All right, thanks. Bravo and Dread back here in the booth. And Dread, if our first series of the day.
Alright, stop commentating, you bitches. Start the game.
Coming up, and this one is going to be Group
So
B.
Group A, Group B, Group C, इतना
It's
जल्दी
really
हुआ.
exciting, especially because, as you heard the analyst says,
Let's
for
go.
anybody who's kept track
Time
of
मिल रहा
Apex,
है
this
हमको.
is our first glance at
YouTube पे
TSM.
check करता हूँ.
It's the if everybody agrees that so far this is the best team in the
क्या?
world, this is a very beginning point for them to really prove that here at the Invitational.
Right, I think you think about the stakes here, right? 500,000.
भाई ये क्या है? टूर्नामेंट चल रहा है. Have you ever tried streaming on Twitch? No.
The finale here.
आप व्यूज कब से लोगे?
I mean, the story, to be honest with you, Dan, is the fact that 7, 8
performance here to maintain.
YouTube पे Group B दिखा रहे हैं वो लोग.
Everybody's kept track of competitive Apex. This is our first glance at TSM. Wyvern is a roster that's trying to put their name up for that, but still struggling to be able to close it out. Just a couple of things here.
Start हो गया.
Being a bit of a misstep, but here
कहाँ
it is.
पे?
We're ready to
Match
get
1
into
of the mid stream पे.
of Group B.
Let's go ahead, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the
मतलब
main
Twitch
stage.
पे.
We set some top
मेरे
talent
stream
here
पे,
in
मेरे
this
stream
game.
पे.
हो गया.
अरे
This
stream पे
group, Dread. We got TSM here. We've got Team Liquid Blue, T1, of course, Misfits as well.
Gen G, a lot of big names here coming across the board at T1 Space Station Gaming. This
Match
is a very
1 out
stacked
of
group,
3.
and we got to figure out who are going
Eco
to be
Fox
the 10 that
repulsor
move on to take on the winners of Group C later on.
If you see Echo Fox coming in here and
Gen.G, a lot of big names.
Not too much action for
मैं
them.
तुमको
We're talking
खेलोगे
earlier about
tournament.
teams being comfortable about their
No,
drops.
होगा
One
तब.
great thing I heard from Fnatic NA last night is
होगा तो जरूर खेलेंगे.
he was saying, you know what, we know containment so well that if anyone else were to drop, we don't mind because of how well
क्या
we know
सामान
that
उठ
drop.
रहा है
I also
भाई
wanna
यहाँ
find
पे
out
ये
exactly what's
दबाते
going
दबाते
on
सामान
across the
उठता
rest of the map.
ये ऐसा भी नहीं होता है ठीक है.
क्यों नहीं होता है
भाई बहुत लैग.
कितनी बार होता है अजीब चीज़ है.
उनके मूवमेंट्स देख रहे हो? क्या सिल्क स्मूथ मूवमेंट्स हैं भाई. मतलब प्यार हो जाए साला ऐसे.
So we have the cage drop over for TSM coming down.
चल गई फाइट भाई.
And I gotta say, one of the things that did catch me off guard a little bit. One of these teams, I think it might have been Gen.G,
Ultimate
actually went for a
movements,
Bangalore in their
Oh, so we did get a Bangalore
I think we
pick
do
in.
finally have a
वो
team
screens
that is
कैसी चल रही है देखा?
not entirely Wraith,
Oh, है ही
Watson,
रहा.
and Pathfinder. That kind of just caught me
Oh,
off guard. I think
Genji
Preseason
Bangalore
is-
लिया. What the
So,
fuck?
and also, I want to say, so we got Team Kurt. They're going to be over there at Containment. Now, over here, we're going to be having Game Arena. These guys coming over there towards, they're going to be up top at Repulsor. And now coming over here down low. Everything's looking good so far. We're going to have one team over here at Farm. That's going to be Singularity. But so far, nobody's messing with each other. Nobody's fighting early on. This is these guys' first game, so they want to play it safe. We usually don't see these teams get any interactions to around the third circle. That's what we saw in match number 1. We'll see if it happens in this series as well.
Thanks so much, guys. Back here now, taking a look at Fnatic EU. This EU side, you got a nice mix of players.
So
here,
many games.
both
Also,
from the UK.
Indian gamers.
Yeah, I think it's very important to note that competitive Apex for Fnatic EU, that's not the roster that for things like the X Games and things like that were represented. So when you're like, I've loved, Fnatic within competitive Apex, just understand that this is kind of the breakout moment here for the North American roster, and we'll see what they end, or excuse me, the European rosters. We'll see what they do here as they are residing towards the labs. And can we just bring it back a skosh here, really quick, Bravo?
Let's do it.
Bangalore is on Kings Canyon.
That's what we're hearing. We're wondering, we're going to check in with Gen.G later. We're hearing, if I had to guess, could be Grim Reality. We do have a note that he has a few different mains, but one being Bang, one being Watson, one being Wraith. So we will check in here with Gen.G.
I would love to see Grim Reality's perspective individually, just because actually we struggle to identify if the Bangalore is actually going to be a part of this comp here yet. But if so, this is, as we said, it's not like it's out of nowhere. Yeah, actually, it's going to be Silk Thread.
All right, so not even. Interestingly, in the notes here, Silk Thread listed his mains as a path and a lifeline, but instead he is going to be here, and I think the Bangaloreans are going to be pretty happy.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be able to see this deviation.
Mirage क्या करेगा इस गेम में? कुछ है ही नहीं, क्या करेगा बताओ?
Some of the advantages or maybe
अरे मिराज लेके क्या करना है?
Straight up, you cannot post up in the late game circles nearly as successfily
Mirage
with the
एक नंबर का
as you
चूतिया है.
could with the Watson, but you can aggress to mid in early game skirmishes and probably deter mid to early game skirmishes far better with this composition from Gen.G.
Also, keep in mind, loot is now going to be a big focus for them because they will have the pressure of
Oh, long. Oh, what the?
oh shit! Also, of course, not running a lifeline, so no ultimates are coming down there as well. So their loot scenario could get interesting if
Team Liquid भी फाट है भाई.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely a great point that you bring up there. And
क्या longbow मारा?
Liquid here as they take themselves a crossroad quarrel. Really pretty there, but I think this is going to be really exciting. And the digital threat element for the Bangalorean team is going to be exciting here. Also, Nocturnal for that roster needs to find a way to upgrade a skosh there onto his armor.
What piece?
And here for Akihabara, we have Sapoten alive.
Akihabara here, Sapoten, he's their Wraith, of course. In between a rock and a hard place, and that's a
नींद में है क्या ये?
Talk about a very centered
Hey,
circle too. Just got a quick glance there coming out from him, but the reason I raise that
Banner
is a concern point is just basically the closer it gets to the center, the less hiding points there are, and more importantly, more angles you can get flanked from. If you're a Lone Ranger, the last thing you want is a center circle. So bit of a grim tale here for him as well.
I did want to ask you, as we're still early days here, your thoughts just on general where this is heading in terms of, we've seen a few drops, we don't have all of that information, but just in terms of what we can expect, at least for these next few rotations for these teams.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, I need to get a
Pathfinder
closer look at
100%
exactly where within our center circle, but I think it's pretty fair to say that it's going to be residing somewhere near the hillside or destroyed cascades, which has some of the more interesting skirmish approaches, mainly when considering that left western versus eastern approach, which is something we talked about within our group number 8 skirmishes.
Oh, shots coming in here. Looks like could have an opportunity. Oh, and the knock actually comes down there. That's going to be Nocturnal.
This battery. This needs to get off, and actually will end up going off there. Here we see the other side, though, trying to pressure, getting it at 2 different angles. Nocturnal falling very, very low. Tries to get a third for an armor swap. That third bite is actually going to hit him, setting him low. He needs the armor. No. He needs the heal.
Phase
nahi tha na.
We talk about the ability to, in the early game, choosing those battles, the ability to disengage, and it feels like that was a whole lot of effort for a terrible result at that stage in the game with where they caught themselves.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that I would highlight is just the desperation that the thermite put it under.
खत्म करने में लगा हुआ था
क्योंकि उसका आर्मर लेना चाहता था कि थर्माइट का डैमेज आर्मर पे लग जाए.
Truly made it go. Okay,
Hello DN Gaming, how are you?
To look to take this trade, but definitely ambitious for Nocturnal over that. Again, that initiation here. So we do get a bit better glance, though, at the final circle, and I still think it's fair to say, based on what we get there, that it is going to be dead-centered a little bit to the northern end, and again, the destroyed cascades.
Absolutely now. Here towards this hillside outpost.
Yeah,
we'll be posting up here as we check in with this Misfit. So I got a chance to talk to Lucido last night as well, and also, as I said, talking to Spirit. Spirit thinking this group is probably the most volatile one here, and certainly a difficult one. So we'll have to see how this nets out. Like we said, a lot of great talent here. We haven't checked in with TSM, but you know that if we can take any past results as an indication, there's a good chance we're going to see them in the late game quite a few times.
Yeah, and the Misfits, one of the longest rosters that exists actually at the entirety of this tournament. And, on the note of Lucido, definitely one of the more talkative and, just approachable players. I can't help but feel like guys just very friendly. He's just, I ran into him at breakfast. He's just like, what's up? I will tell you anything and everything of my opinions about Apex Legends. And I very much appreciated that there. Brightly young lad, but glancing over now here is going to be Virtus Pro. Look at the armor circumstance here. Looking nice and purple.
Absolutely. Now here on the HRO side. 3 American players here.
Great positioning. They have themselves a really nice high ground advantage here. This is near unapproachable outside of the left-hand side there, where Overpowered is coming from, or where
रात खेलेंगे ना GTA.
Also going to be pretty happy with how that 301 is sitting. Also Peacekeeper in the back pocket too.
और भैया कैसे हो? मैं बढ़िया
तो ना. A bit of range, no scope on that, but right now, like you said, in terms of positioning and the fact that they're fenced up, they're going to be calling this place home for a little bit.
Well, it's very important to note here that the alternator doesn't have the disruptor rounds, and the wingman
doesn't
have
माया जाल
the
मकड़ी का माया जाल बना रखा है पूरी.
देखना. Loadout. And normally when you see this, you go, that's all right. But with those parameters being met, with an extended mag or a disruptor round, so I would actually say, at least here, just for RNK's perspective, he definitely needs to find a way to get a knock and loot up on some of those bodies.
Checking him back with Fnatic EU here. Going to go ahead and find a jump tower to move around the map. And we also see now on the one above all side, like we said, they're bottom here, hillside outpost, and they have the ability to move, and like we said, not in a rush to do so.
Meanwhile, Fnatic here, taking a glance towards that Sacred Forest. Where did all that little dust come from? My goodness, was that a slide by?
Custom server account.
Ping's going across the board. I think it's fair to assume somebody there here. Glancing at Misfits, though. Take
custom server
back over that 301. Not enough to connect to get the knock, but definitely pressured that player.
Yep. Moose, the in-game leader there. You see him, unsurprisingly, also the first to land those shots.
Notice the turbocharger. Going to really help out on this Havoc. The lack of bullet drop and energy actually makes this a very reasonable opportunity there for the Havoc player.
We do see Hub all the way kind of extending over to get a different angle as well, but decides to just circle back with the team. And a little bit slower pace from what we saw in our Group A, Dread.
It is a bit here, but the fact actually that we've watched 2 whole squads get removed is actually pretty surprising, I feel like. Though we did see less, I feel like, killing across the board, or excuse me, more killing across the board. The fact that the 2 whole squads I would say clumped rotations here. We got Zerg with a really nice perspective and view over top of those members towards containment.
Yeah, right now you see him. He can check Hillside Outpost, he can check River Center.
Yeah.
Lots of angles. These guys here, Team Kurt, the artist formerly known as T1, competing under the Team Kurt banner. If we look at their performance at X Games, right, I think there was a lot of hopes for them, and I think they have to look at that tournament as this now an opportunity to once again, like we said before the series, cement themselves as the conversation of who are the top teams here, right? In this tournament, we have 80.
Yeah.
And at the end of the weekend, right, that conversation about who is the top is going to be a lot clearer than the results we had coming out of X Games.
Depending on how dominant it is, honestly, I think most people look at that and say, there's going to be a couple of names. We go from 80 down to maybe 5, but if you do really perform well enough, I could argue maybe that's just as big as one, especially if it's that of TSM.
Yeah, now taking a look here. Here is Kick Esports Club, and just raining bullets down across the river. And as you see, not sure exactly which team that's dropped down there, but very tough plays, breaking some shields.
1 से लेके 4 तक
Not able to shoot through that left-hand window.
We do bring up a good point, though, of course, if you, especially if there's
ये
some
क्या?
rooftop gameplay. There's a lot of ways to pick at people.
Albedalli कहाँ गया?
For example, on the roof with the Peacekeeper, usually.
अच्छा, इनको लग रहा है कि यही जोन है. अच्छा, तो इन्होंने रेडी कर लिया है.
Once from TSM and Albraleli in this exact same situation. And last time,
वो बोल रहे containment है last zone.
For them, but they absolutely adore the control over this area of the map, and now out of the bounds.
Oh my God! What the fuck?
Is one of the best, if not the best, Pathfinder in the world. Just
अरे मैं बफरिंग होने लगा. What the fuck? हेलो.
ये साला कितना कैंप करके खेलते हैं यार.
तो अरे तो $500 million लाइन पे है, आप कैंप पे नहीं कीजिएगा. सही है भाई. 75 लॉन्ग पे पड़ेगा ना ओपन में जब लड़िएगा तब पता चलेगा.
वही तुम्हें देखो साला हर कोई लॉन्ग मतलब लिटरली.
अरे तो लास्ट सर्कल में 15-17 टीम बच रही है. 40-40 लोग बच रहे हैं. तो टूर्नामेंट और लैंड का बेटा नॉर्मल रैंक से डिफरेंट होता है. ओ लड़ाई हो गई भाई. इसका क्या ग्रैपल इतना दूर कैसे जाता है?
जीरो पिंग.
अरे नहीं, इसका रैंक में भी, इसका नॉर्मल गेम से भी इसका ग्रैपल बहुत दूर जाता है. मेरा जाता है दूर, लेकिन इतना दूर नहीं जाता जितना इसका जाता है.
थोड़ा रेस्टर ही नहीं होता.
As well. Now back to Hal, and like we
Next
said,
is like Hacho,
very careful on how they got out of this choke. We don't have intel on exactly who it is that's pinching them, but they need to play this carefully. And if there's one team that can play a situation like this game carefully, it's probably
भाई
one guy who can make this his job.
देखे ग्रैपल उसका.
And to be honest, that is the biggest reason that whoever
अभी just
I would say think
अरे वही तो भाई वो
enough to be able to
play you the best Pathfinder player है वो.
भाई मतलब भयंकर ग्रैपल, मतलब बंदर की तरह ग्रैपल.
Few moments there, really able to find any grapple, both to scout and then also to disengage and now to reset. We've seen him kind of, he knows his way around that part of the map in that central choke.
You basically have to count down 15 seconds. Every time he grapples, if you don't count that, that is your window to deal with Albraleli. If you do not, you can just go ahead and count out the next one. There, big trade coming through.
Level 1 shield में खेल रहे हैं तीनों के
तीनों. A bit concerned, even forcing out this eye.
Placement के लिए वो खेल रहे हैं rather than
like you said,
वो top 5 consistent. सुनिए, एक गेम में हाई किल, ठीक है, और टॉप नहीं आना, ठीक है, और फिर दूसरे तीसरे गेम में जल्दी मर जाने से आपको ज्यादा अच्छा है कि 3 गेम लगातार आप टॉप 5 में आइए तो आपका ज्यादा प्लेसमेंट. जो फाइनल्स होगा ना संडे में, उसमें जो जीतेगा उसको कहते हैं तो वो टीम जीतेगी. अभी तो सब प्लेसमेंट के लिए खेल रहे हैं, अभी सब पॉइंट्स के लिए खेल रहे हैं, क्योंकि जितना पॉइंट्स आपका होगा उतना ज्यादा आपका चांसेस है कि आप क्वालीफाई करोगे फाइनल्स के लिए.
Those same
advantage.
Knocks in the kill feed, so we'll keep an eye on those as well. Now back over here to Sinister Esports.
Taking a big trade there, finds the first knock, but pressure from up above. The grapple comes through, finds himself on a 1v1, but the Peacekeeper damage comes
bye bye Sinister.
Easy cleanup shot there coming out from.
Hello, Empower कैसा भाई?
Peacekeeper से peace कर दिया.
It is again Sinister is the one that falls. That'll be our third team eliminated so far. Now back over to the Fnatic EU team. They found themselves with a battle, and they're going to go ahead and try to get out. That's going to be Diggs trying to stay alive. No,
Fnatic EU भी गया.
And here we see Gen G.
क्या हुआ?
Wow, already so right on that big
अरे तो मालूम ही नहीं था आप कॉल पे. मार दिया इग्नोर तो बड़ा क्या हो गया, कांड हो गया.
अरे मतलब मैं बोल रहा हूँ हेलो हेलो हाय.
इतना एक्साइटिंग मैच चल रहा है.
हम तो थे ही नहीं, हम तो आए अभी.
कपाड़ तोड़ रहे हैं.
आप स्ट्रीम कर रहे हो?
तुम्हारा लंग उठा के स्वागत है.
भाई गिरते गिरते विंगमैन देते रहते हैं ये लोग.
Now trying to find exactly, of course, charging in here.
लो बेटा मरो
it is. Look at that cool, calm, and collected from help. Knew that the player was likely playing a little bit of door games there. Not going to stand for that.
Mirage खेल रहा था ना, टट्टी Mirage.
Mirage कहाँ कोई खेल
looked at
रहा
any classic and said, "Let me show you how it's done." A thermite grenade, if well placed, can do the exact same thing there. I mean, that was just pretty. Best way to put it there. Nice opener from Albraleli, gets the slide through, finds himself the first knock, but he has no HP. He peeks in the downtime, knowing that they're going to reload. A moment of confidence, but maybe too much. Imperial Hal ends up going down.
It's just going to be Albraleli here. Last player alive for TSM, as we talked about. One of the best teams here in the tournament, your X Games winner, and they are in a tough spot. But look at Storm in here. Starts to finish skip, we're gonna wait.
He's also low.
What's gonna happen here? Oh no! No!
Wait. Abrolele knows he ended up going down. He's going to push for the res. And questionably, the bigger question here is the other target willing to push within this window. Do they even know? Oh my goodness, because that was the final kill, they're not understanding that there was more within this crevice and actually decide against pushing. TSM is given a here in the center of the map. It looked like
Hello, Gaming with Rockstar. How are you, bro?
For TSN in their first game on the main stage in this tournament, but they will live potentially here to the late game as more shots coming in here from Misfits. And Moose and company going to need to get ready to move a little more central as this ring starts to close in.
Help though, needs to be able to hit a lot of these shots. TSM close this out, and he's taking too much there, forcing now his iframe. We look over towards Moose, full HP. Holds his own here for a little bit.
Those shots come through, and now 12 squads left, and there's a whole gonna look. Storm not taking too hard. But there's not a lot of cover towards these final hill strip.
No, it's going to be very, very difficult there. And taking that one take, we'll see if it comes at a cost. Arcstar will be able to help out with some breathing room, maybe an opportunity to get some shields. Moose still pressuring in, throwing as much as he possibly can. Ends up grappling back, but he needs to be able to shield up here. Slides down, takes the pressure up from above, knows the backside of the rock's the only place that he can hide. He ends up getting knocked here. Help needs exactly that as he's struggling a bit. Lucido, the only one really with any composure and taking shots from down below. The G7 scout, the one dishing him out.
We see not able to hit those shots on Lucido, and now he hits several, but does not get the knock just yet. The Virtus Pro side here trying to see if they can squeak those knocks out on these angles.
Great opener.
Now back over to the TSM side, and they are looking a lot healthier than the last time we checked in with them.
Nice. Better armor as well. Resources completely shifted in their favor after getting those kills. Or more so, maybe those kills handed to them.
Yes, leave it to TSM to fight out of the circumstances that we saw them in. And like you said, likely a misjudgment from the other side to not push in on that choke. Definitely a lack of information there helps them out in the end, and they will see top 10 here. What a surprise it would have been if that wasn't the case.
Yeah, absolutely devastating for their expectations. A lot of those fans at home reps, though, actually struggling here in this skirmish, and one above all. And keep in mind that they are, well, above that of TSM. The high ground advantage very much in their favor. We've got ourselves 10 seconds out until round 5 closes, and TSM has to find a way to make a push in some way, shape, or form.
TSM अभी भी जिंदा है, what the fuck?
वही तो कहा, इतनी सी जगह पे होल्ड करके रखा हुआ है भाई उन्होंने। मैं होता तो कब की दे देता।
Into a center structure here in this very small shack at River Center. Some great shots from him as well. Back over to Abrolele.
Man, I can't believe TSM made it with almost no damage coming through. Abrolele now moving, joining up here onto the high ground. Shots go out, but that target is able to survive. No crack coming through. Cell dropped.
And look at how central they are. The fact that they are not taking damage here indicates how many battles are happening around them.
Yeah, they're very, very controlled, keeping as much cover as they can from both angles. Arcstar trying to stop the iframe coming out from now on that Wraith in the river. There, Arcstar connects. The pings go down. Do they push? Abrolele wastes no time.
He's right back with the squad, and the shack doesn't catch that grapple, but still going to be quite central. But here it is. Take a look at one above all, still being a pain in TSM's backside.
Yeah, the fireman really lighting a fire under TSM. They need to find a way to get control over this. The shielding and Phoenix is coming through, but now pressure, the flank coming out from the other side.
अब TSM इन दोनों का मार लेगी पीछे से। TSM इन दोनों का मार लेगी पीछे से। TSM इन दोनों का मार लेगी पीछे से।
Still thriving on top of their hut here.
And look at this. They know how much cover they have, and also how much they don't have. The lack thereof, they
Top
know
5 आ गए
TSM
so
well.
Look at the resource trade as well. They know that they need to get that spread across the board. Reps ends up struggling. Virtus Pro is looking so very good. They are ready to try and push this.
Oh, Virtus Pro पूरा healthy है भाई purple shield के साथ.
They will struggle versus the remaining 3 as we see the shots go through. It seems like TSM is now no longer with us as Virtus Pro.
TSM मर गए.
House. And there they go. TSM looks like they will get a top 5, but that will be the end now. Back on board with Virtus Pro.
चलो, but जैसा उनका situation था top 5 तो बहुत अच्छा किया.
This is the best place to have a little Watson ult in a late game, but they're going to have to call it home right now. They do have also that zip to a little more central.
वो decision बहुत अच्छा था घर के ऊपर वाला.
Not only for a little bit of zip dancing, but also just to get more central.
Yeah, and it should be noted here as we glance at Petty Boss that that is only a one-man representative of one of our squads here, and now Misfits.
वो top 2 आना चाह रहा है क्योंकि top 2 का भी point है.
We've got the one representative. Where is squad 4? You know we will find out here as round 6 comes to a close.
Here we go.
भाई Misfit अभी तक जिंदा है और अच्छे खासे
अरे वो 7 किल किसका था?
They're now going to fly in here and they're going to get a little more central and now maybe drop down. But shots going
सारे में लगा हेडशॉट विंगमैन
का somewhere. That's a lot of shots. Underbird is pro actually enough to drop down Pay out of his armor. The Archstar ends up connecting. Wraith ends up dropping. Misfits is clutching this out as they advance onward into the middle of the house. Swap out to the alternator. Not enough to confirm the knock, but help struggling heavily here. Drops the battery. I don't think he's going to have an opportunity to be able to get that off, but Lucido buys himself a bit of time. Help gets the heal, and now 3 squads remain. Yeah, that's going to be Moose finishing off Game Arena as well. Still, all the focus here on the roof of this shack. Look at that. There's going to be Team Kurt that falls now. 2 squads remaining. Misfits, it's in such a good position. If they can get to the high ground, they've got the 2-man knock. They need the kill to push onto the Peacekeeper. It gets enough to get the 1 knock here. A 2 versus 2. Lucido and help with the Peacekeeper battle. They're doing their best. They focus and Misfits clutch it out. Talk about composure to close out that game. It's not the biggest shack in the river, let me tell you. It was by the end of it, it felt like every single member of the top 6 teams at some point knocked on that door. I'm going to say that if
oh my God,
we'd hear from a lot of the top teams.
Bangalore के साथ जीती है क्या?
In the end,
नहीं.
Only 1 team remains. That's going to be Misfits. They close it out, like you said, Dread, in that 2v2. Lots of Peacekeepers in that battle, and that's what you expect to be brought to not only a late game, but especially a late game like that.
One thing I got to say after the end of that, Bravo, is that one roster very heavily stood out that has not had a very public performance before that point, and that is that of Virtus Pro. Yep. They looked clean with some of the decisions making. They looked phenomenal when it came to their shots. They were on point. The macro.
तुम दोनों एक बार वो ग्रुप में एक मैंने DM डाला है उसको देख के रिप्लाई कर दो तो उसका अनाउंसमेंट भी कर देंगे आज, ठीक है?
मैं डिस्प्ले कैप्चर पे हूँ
ब्रो। तो फोन में खोल ले।
Lucido and crew have to be feeling good about that. As I said, got
nice
to talk to
idea.
him last night, and he was.
अरे रेफरी खाना खा रहा है.
Play our game, and that's exactly
Please reply कर देना उसका. रेफरी खाना खा रहा है. What? कुछ लिख रहा था.
चिढ़ा भी रहा था. कौन सा ग्रुप में by the way?
अरे जो DM वाला
ग्रुप.
अरे अभी के लिए एकदम.
Thank you so much, Bravo. Fallout here back again with Jamerson and Glitter here. A great game 1 across the board. A few teams that we talked about. A few teams we kind of forgot to talk about, slipped under the rug there. Of course, it was Virtus Pro with a 2nd place finish, but ultimately Misfits comes out on top.
I mean, you know, I said it. I called them out, and I guess they heard me because they had a performance there.
Yeah, I guess
Glitter's over here just punching me every single time that moves and helping Lucido
I guess
just doing anything. I'm like, ow, I bruise easy.
I'm so excited for them. I wanted them to do well. This is exactly what they needed to do, coming out strong in the first match. And I'm hyped.
I mean, that's exactly
the
what
prize for distribution for the top 4 teams is first place
right? If they get
105
drop the way that they did
$000.
अरे $1 लाख, $1 लाख 5.
Second place.
कौन जीता था?
Yeah, of course. How can you not?
$48,000.
Team India को कितना?
I don't recall doing that. I don't think that's true.
पहला ग्रुप कौन जीता था? She blacked out.
पहला ग्रुप जीता था G2 Esports.
Coming out on top. I know TSM the top 4 finish as well. You can't obviously not talk about TSM based on where they're at right now and as it stands with their dominance. But all Misfits,
Team
all day,
Liquid.
Virtus Pro.
बट जीतने का नहीं है ना भैया, पॉइंट का है. लाइक G2 Esports एक मैच जीती पहला ग्रुप में, ठीक है? एक मैच HSL जीती और एक मैच आपका तीसरा मैच कौन जीता? टीम लिक्विड वाइड.
top 3 for sure is going to help them out here in group.
TSM का क्या हुआ? TSM top 5 आई.
मैच देखा किसी ने?
VP had a great ending there. Also like really performing for the team.
Yeah, I think Team Kurt actually had a lot to prove coming out of X Games as well. I think they went into X Games with a lot of the other teams, themselves included, having really high expectations, and then maybe not necessarily
वो
meeting
ग्रुप
them,
में
and
आपने
they
जो
just
रिप्लाई
proved
किया
what
ना,
they
आई
could do
थिंक
here.
उसको अनाउंस कर देते हैं. बस एक बार जॉर्ज से कंफर्मेशन ले लें, बाकी सब तो कह रहे हैं ठीक है.
अरे हाँ, by the way TSG मेरे को कुछ
It's a great start, great middle, and even better finish.
पूछ ना.
अरे सीजन 2 के टाइम से जो मेरा स्ट्रीम कर रहा हूँ मैं,
as they clean dominated.
तो वहाँ उस समय का वीडियो उसका मैसेज आ रहा है कि यार वीडियो has been blocked because.
I mean, at some point I thought honestly that TSM was in a
करो
lot of
चैनल पे
trouble
खराब
when they were
वो ऐसे ही होता है, ऐसे ही होता है. और उसमें जाके देखो किस टाइम स्पैन का ब्लॉक हुआ है. मेरा जो टाइम स्पैन में ब्लॉक हुआ हीरो सिलेक्शन में, लाइक
कुछ भी नहीं है वहाँ पे, मैं गेम खेल रहा हूँ.
वही तो मैंने उसको क्लेम को वो किया है.
I got 27 kills, Pathfinder with 4.9 k damage, 7 shot danger right now.
Aggressive to go for that opportunity, and that doesn't necessarily fit.
और अगर झूठ बोल रहे हो तो आगे से मैसेज मत करना.
So I totally understand why they didn't go for it. I think it was just me being greedy and wanting more kills.
हेडफोन जो होते हैं वो नॉइज कैंसिलेशन होते हैं, ईयरफोन अंदर जो कनेक्टेड होते हैं।
Then I woke up. Okay, danger. Fuck off.
That they were actually still getting fired upon someone else from the low ground from broken cascades, and so that was the right choice for them. If they had overstepped their bounds, if they had tried to push into that valley,
where the fuck is Golden Boy?
That might have not been the win for them.
Exactly.
Misfits getting off to a great start here. We actually have the standings updated and ready for you all
अरे
as
Golden
well.
Boy नहीं बता
Misfits a team
अभी
that has always played well.
Golden Boy नहीं है क्या इस टूर्नामेंट में?
तो फाइनल्स में आएगा ना रे?
Who the fuck is Golden Boy?
क्या?
वो जो कास्टर है, बहुत फेमस कास्टर।
Golden Boy को नहीं जानता।
I believe it was in X Games. Off to a great start here.
अरे निंजा भैया,
This is the performance that they needed. This is the performance that I was expecting out of them.
अरे यार क्या मिसफिट्स का मैच था
वो excuse me, Group D. This is
स्क्वाड बची थी।
क्या चल रहा था? A lot of eliminations, and we get to see. We've seen
बीस के?
Great first
Sorry, wait, hold on. What? Excuse me, what? Is that accurate?
अरे बाप रे, क्या अलग अपनी अलग ही लीग में
That is the highest kill performance of any team so far. I believe. We know that Wyvern got 16, Team 7, 9,
अरे मर्डर कोई चेहरा हटाओ ना।
20 kills. They
ये सेकंड हाईएस्ट आपको मालूम है? हाँ?
चेहरा हटाओ।
सेकंड हाईएस्ट सेली स्क्वाड का है, साउथ कोरियन।
अरे वो टीम कौन सी थी जो
परखा और सेली 16 किल गेम किया था उनका ग्रुप में।
48 पॉइंट के साथ कौन सी टीम
bottom half there, of course, TSM top 4. They're going to a little bit low on the kill count.
TSM
How can you get kills when Misfits took all of them with 20? That,
YouTube
by
पे
the
देख रहे हो,
way,
Twitch
that's a
पे?
third of
मैं
the
तो Twitch पे
lobby.
देख रहा हूँ।
Twitch पे better है
I keep
बहुत।
staring at the number.
In a high level
यार ट्विच पे क्वालिटी इतनी अच्छी है स्ट्रीम की, मेरा ट्विच पे स्ट्रीम करने का मन करता है।
11 through 20.
बस ट्विच पे एक प्रॉब्लम है, पीछे नहीं कर सकते। अरे वो बताओ ना रशियन टीम कौन सी थी? मेरा नाम नहीं
789
but not the best start, not the best start.
12 पे हाय 3 किल।
I'm trying to remember exactly who took them out. I did mention, or when I was watching
Lulu
the game
Lovely
back,
host कर रही है
I saw
tournament?
exactly when they were taken out, but I don't remember.
ये
that.
क्या Lulu Lovely?
नहीं।
I mean, it happens.
It does.
We got 2 more games. We got 2 more games. So
ये
bounce
क्या?
back tomorrow.
आदित्य चेहरा handsome है।
I want to go back to Misfits.
चलो आप लोग देखो,
Misfits are doing
मैं आता है।
32
अरे
points
लेकिन
after the
स्ट्रीम
first
कर
round,
रहे हो
that
तुम
is
लोग, लेकिन
not
फिर
something that we have seen quite
बता
yet.
रहा हूँ तुम
And that's
लोग
kind
को
of
एक बार
absurd that
आएगा।
they're able to do that. And they
ये
have the
लोग स्ट्राइक
safety
देंगे
to play game number 2 and game
वही
number
कह
3
रहा हूँ।
a
तुम
lot
लोग पहले
slower
चेक
if they
नहीं
want
कर
Claim
to, but
देंगे,
I don't
claim,
think you do.
strike.
I mean,
अरे
if
नहीं,
you're this
take down
hot right
claim
now, I think you have to keep it
मेरा
up.
तो ब्लॉक कर दिया था
Absolutely,
वीडियो कोई। अरे आजकल
so
ब्लॉक
this
हो
is
रहे हैं यार
going back to
लोगों
what
की
happened
वीडियो।
with Wyvern.
अरे नहीं, बैड शैंक ने भी बोला भाई WSG यही WSG कर रहा है प्ले।
Zero worry
ये कल
about
भी बोल
where
रहा
they
था मैं
currently are standing wise.
WSG मेरा भी वही था।
The fact that, you know,
अरे तो मेरे को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता निंजा में, मैंने आपको बताया
वीडियो
तो।
हटा देंगे
फर्क
ना,
नहीं पड़ने से
चैनल
क्या
थोड़ी
मतलब
ना।
है?
हाँ नहीं चैनल नहीं
फर्क
वो
नहीं
करेंगे,
पड़ने से
वीडियो
क्या
ब्लॉक
मतलब
कर
है?
लेंगे।
वीडियो हटा
वो फिर होता क्या है कि YouTube जब रिकमेंडेशन डालता है ना तो एल्गोरिथम में नहीं पिक करता, वो इशू आता है।
तो वही तो मैंने बोला, मेरे को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है ना।
नहीं नहीं नहीं, अरे निंजा भैया वो ब्लॉक ही कर देते हैं वीडियो। लाइक अगर कोई उसको किसी भी कंट्री में खोलेगा ना अनअवेलेबल। हाँ
एक्चुअली क्या होता है, यूट्यूब एल्गोरिथम में चैनल रैप भी बहुत मैटर करता है। तो
हाँ।
अगर चैनल रैप तुम्हारा गिरता है तो तुम्हारा वीडियो या कोई भी जो है अगर तुम अपलोड करोगे तो वो रिकमेंडेशन में नहीं आता है, ये प्रॉब्लम होती है और कुछ नहीं। उसमें क्या होगा कि तुम जब लाइव स्ट्रीम करोगे तो तुमको लगेगा कि रिकमेंडेड में जा रहा है, बट नहीं, वो आता नहीं है। तो क्या बंद कर दूंगा? तुम्हारा रिकमेंडेशन स्कोर खराब होएगा और कुछ नहीं। मैं वो क्या
बंद कर दीजिए,
मत चलाओ स्ट्रीम। इस पे बेटर है कि तुम कमेंट्री कर दो, म्यूट कर दो। गेम का जो साउंड है ना वो म्यूट होता है, गेम के साउंड से ये लोग निकालते हैं वीडियो।
Fnatic North America with a great performance. They got 5th place in Group A. They placed top 4 at the X Games. Not able to finish and get a medal at X Games, but they still played incredibly well in that tournament, repeating their success. Let's see if their brothers in Fnatic EU can do the same. Not the best game one from them, though.
I mean, that was kind of dirty, though. If you saw what happened there, they had them wrangled up in a room by themselves. They have the door blocked, and then they throw in thermites. That's how Space Station went down. But this was a lot of fighting going on. This is where I think Misfits pick up a bulk of their kills, where they're able to pick off Genji, they're able to pick off Fnatic. They get one more kill over off by the respawn beat.
And let's listen to these comms real quick. Great communication from Misfits.
टूर्नामेंट में हेडफोन क्यों नहीं पहन सकते? पहन सकते हैं हेडफोन, बट द थिंग इज कि जब ओपन टूर्नामेंट होता है, जैसे कि जिसमें बड़ा स्टेज रहता है और ओपन स्टेज रहता है, तो उसमें साउंड नहीं आता आपको। लाइक बगल में अगर दूसरी टीम बैठी है बहुत सारी तो सबका साउंड आता है। तो जो गन चलाने टाइम पहनते हैं ना हेडफोन, वो हेडफोन पहना जाता है, अंदर ईयरफोन लगाया जाता है।
At a top level, that's something you don't really see in traditional sports that you see in esports. Look at the
बहुत सारे गेम्स हैं जो टूर्नामेंट कराते हैं।
Unfortunately, Virtus Pro Taylor ended up getting taken out by Misfits. And the reaction, of course, the hype, as Misfits coming out incredibly strong with a 20-kill game, a 32-point game. That's a record. It's a record so far.
I honestly don't know if anybody can beat that this weekend.
You think
I'll
so?
throw the challenge out to the rest of our
Group
players.
C is going on right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I want to see if anybody can put up a higher number than that.
Yeah, it was a great performance, undoubtedly. And there's a lot of plays that were made, obviously.
I have made a team of India.
Let's actually throw it over to our boys. We got Blaze and Nathanius with the action over at the command center. Gentlemen, what do you see there?
Man, what's up, John? Nate,
का
we
क्या हुआ
saw
पता
in
नहीं
game
क्या हुआ
number
वो
one,
ग्रुप सी
Waver
चल
come
रहा है
out, it dropped 25 points, 13 kills to start this one off, and we said, hey, that is a great start. Nobody can beat it. And you get Misfits, they beat it by 7 kills, and I'm just going to say that they had a lot of help. Okay, and that's what we're going to kick this one off with. Misfits, help from Misfits. He's going to start this clip off with 7 kills, so Nate, take this one away.
It gets crazy. I mean, you're talking about crazy end game circles, but the thing is, the players are all working together, playing around the sides. You got multiple teams coming at the end. Even in this final phase, not only are you still dealing with Team Kurt, but you've got Team VP up on the top side, making it rain down here. And really just the calmness coming out, help maintain a really good position. And you can't even try and push this inside zone because you know there's probably someone hiding in there, but you're not walking into that room. That's the reason why Watson's a big part of all these compositions. All you can do is try to play around the outside. But a big part of this comes down to landing the shots, but also the fact that the players are all kind of keeping this just enough separation from each other that they can cover each other at all times. And when you're able to force VP to drop down in this final fight, you get that 2v1 situation, and that's what's going to be able to give you all the space that you need. He can't deal with everybody getting in his face all at once, and that's how you pick up the dub. Really just maintaining their composure in an environment of chaos. You have one building. You can't go in the middle of it.
Really,
all
you
can do
and
is
inside
dance
is all
around.
locked down by Watson traps as well.
You don't want to step inside that building.
You do not want to do that whatsoever. All right, guys, at the desk, take it back away.
Thanks so much, Blaze. And yeah, you want to avoid Watson traps. I think that's a general tip
you,
to win
but
there. Of course, my man Nathanius, the brains
being
of
a
Apex,
good
breaking it down
player
for us.
Yeah, I mean,
or being a
Watson
decent
traps,
player
even
in a
though
game
she
doesn't
has
mean
received that
that
nerf, right? In the most recent patch,
okay, so
she has the low profile nerf, but also
three
the nerf
very
to her
good
ultimate
players
version. Only have one
cannot
interception
make
pylon
a
down
very
at
good
time,
team
and that is very
just
valuable
because
to
they
have
all
that
are
down and
good
be
in
able
their
to
game.
quickly put up fences, and you get to see how tightly teams are able to control it. But we also saw from Amber Laley's perspective that there's
making
also
a
the
team
second
and
level of that
adjusting
building
to a
that you
team
can
is
also
a
try and
very hard
control. And so that's also a thing that you have to kind of look out for.
Yeah, what's interesting is despite that nerf to Watson, they still has the opportunity to pop an ultimate accelerant and get their ultimate back right away and replace that pylon. So you're still seeing Watson being used consistently at the top level in competitive play. Almost every team has to run that support Watson. But, you know, of course, we saw some great plays from a variety of players and teams here.
I know
in
this,
match
but if you
number one
regularly play with the
of
same
Group
team,
D.
you will
Group C,
definitely
of course, is underway on the side stream. If you're missing that, make sure to keep both streams open and stay up to speed there. It's been good action. Yeah, for sure.
Bindas Kavya
Group
ke
B,
saath khel
if you guys
kaun
did
hai
not
Bindas
hear,
Kavya?
was domination. I mean,
Oh, never
absolute
mind.
domination for
Mere
Team
ko yaad aa
79.
gaya.
Let's take a look at the player kills from the last match. Of course, top 3, all Misfits all day, as you see on screen. Help, Moose, and Lucido all picking up 9, 6, and 5 kills respectively. Wow, what a performance.
And if you look at that, they're actually pretty even. So there wasn't one player who was, doing the heavy lifting. That is just true teamwork.
No hard carry, necessarily. No hard carry. Everyone's
they don't need one. Yeah. They're all the hard carry.
That's pretty dangerous when you have 3 hard carries in one team, I'll tell you that much. Any game, any title. Anything stand out to you in particular here, James?
in a team first thing is trust.
I mean, honestly, like, when you have stats
nahi,
like
Nick,
that,
ऐसा
where a
नहीं
team
होता है.
has
Just because
a
you
third
play every day
of the
with the
lobby's
same
kills,
people doesn't mean that
that's
your
what stands
team
out the
is
most,
very
and
good
that's
or
why you're
very,
seeing such low kill numbers
you are
coming
going
up
to
from everyone
win.
else. But
Because
honestly, it was
playing
just great
casuals
positioning
and
coming
playing
out from
ranked.
Misfits, where they were able to really take advantage
Okay,
of the
so
fact that they
this
were able
is
to third party
casual.
and gatekeep
Okay, this is
just along that
casual, okay?
northeast side of the ring.
This
How
is
much damage done as
casual
well. Zerg sneaking into the
level
top
of
3
shot
there with
calling and
1,600
team
points of damage
coordination.
done, but I'll tell you right now,
This is
very
what
rarely will I
is
play a game where all 3
rank
players will be up over 1,500
shot
points
calling
right there, all
IGL
3
and
players doing
and this is
absolute
what is
work, a
required
total
to play
of about
tournament.
5,000 points of damage
Okay,
just for
so
one
just
team.
because you're good
I mean,
at
a
this
complete
level
dominant
doesn't mean
performance
you'll be able
for
to play at this.
Yeah, I mean, most of my games,
And
whenever I'm
most
playing,
of the
I'll be
teams
like,
fight
you
at
know, I
this
have 2K
level, and
damage,
this
but, like,
level,
my teammate has
casual
full
level.
damage,
Our
you know?
teams
What
in
happened
India
there?
fight
I
at
have
this
full kills
level.
with 500
कि तुमने
damage.
call नहीं दिया, तुम ये नहीं
You're
करते
putting
हो,
in the
नहीं
work. Speaking of
करते
hard
हो.
carries here, James, I
Understand?
like that. I respect it. Who you made
So
me,
it
by the way?
doesn't mean just because you play casual with your friends,
Actually, day one was
you'll
a lot of
be able to play
a
at the
lot of Gibraltar
tournament.
before.
Because like
Yeah.
when you play casuals with your friend, you ignore
I'm
a lot of
secretly hoping that
mistakes that
somebody pulls
you
out
make
a
and they make.
Gibraltar.
I've been hearing.
You don't tell them
Everyone
because they're
suffers.
streaming
Everyone likes
and
to
they'll
say
get angry.
Maybe there's going to be a Gibraltar.
Everyone likes to say Gibraltar is one baby nerf or baby buff away from being very.
And
OP,
I'm not
very
playing
strong.
Apex
We'll see if
competitive,
Gibraltar gets
just so
that
you
buff, but haven't seen a Gibraltar yet. Not yet. Watson has been the consistent. Haven't seen many Bangalores either. Obviously, a lot of Pathfinder being used.
Yeah, what I'm surprised about is that we're not seeing a lot of Lifeline.
Yeah,
Lifeline. We saw a lot of double support compositions coming out. T1 was one running that throughout, I believe, the majority of X games, and they're not doing it here, and so.
I think it's probably because it's not the best comp for the type of setup that we have here at this event. People, even if they're playing conservatively, they still generally have to have a comp that will allow them to be more aggressive when they need to be aggressive due to how few games they have to play.
But having that flex is super important.
I don't know what you're talking about, dude. You're like skipping through stuff. Like
3 opportunities to rack up
you're
your
changing
points, and of course,
topic.
the
I don't
importance of
understand
kills in this format. There's no
try
cap
करने
to the
वाला
amount of kills that you can secure
Danger
to
नहीं
unpunch
मालूम
your
मैं क्या
team.
करने
So
वाला, but
we'll typically see
Apex
teams going a
मैं
little
बस
more
इतना
of an
जानता I will be
aggressive,
playing Apex,
style, and
but
Lifeline
Apex
obviously doesn't necessarily fit
competitive
that
के लिए
mold,
अभी
but
मेरे
I like
पास
that breakdown
I don't
there.
think I'm ready.
But of course, you see Pathfinder used. I like the quote earlier. Knowledge is power when it comes to battle royale, and that knowledge has definitely been taken advantage of with Pathfinder's passive.
And one of the things is, like, yeah, after X Games, after everyone was using Pathfinder and we were really seeing a lot of the tight roping, you know, jumping across the zip lines in the end game, it looks like a lot more teams are more aware of it now. We got to see it in that G2 game where we finished off at Slums, where G2 position, they see the Pathfinder zip line, they're instantly going to focus that down first because they don't want to leave that team to be able to get the win for free, right? And so a lot more teams are being cognizant of it now and making sure that they're aware and doing something about it.
But the only difference is that in X Games, nobody looked up.
Yeah.
And he had a good chunk of time up there by himself.
At professional level, okay, listen, when you make a team for professional level, right?
Here.
When you make a team,
a team we haven't talked much about is
and you think that you are going to play with that team at a professional level, or you're going to practice till you become a professional team.
Rivals where they were able to take first, and this is a team, a Spanish team, I believe, for the most part, with Crip and Mady and Star Wraith coming in that we didn't really get to talk about, but we do have to talk about them because, well,
Next
here
match
they're
कितने बजे अभी होगा?
they're going to be at TwitchCon.
Listen. So when I used to play Smite, I don't know about Apex, but
for Twitch Rivals, it's a different point system, right? So maybe that catered to their playstyle a little bit better, and maybe
how can I explain?
This is throwing them for a loop. Who
for
knows?
any game, right? All these things that you're saying, we have to find our weakness, don't blame your teammates, yeah, this and that. This doesn't happen at professional level. समझ रहे हो? तेरे को क्या लगता है कौन जीतेगा?
We can talk about it all day long. Let's go ahead and get ready to jump into the action. Match number 2 is ready. That's it for myself, Glitter, and Jamerson here at the desk. Bravo and Dreadnought. Take it away, gentlemen.
Thanks so much, Fallout, and also, of course,
और अभी तो winners ही bracket चल रहा है.
We look at
bracket
what we just saw from Misfits. They have
double
32
elimination, round
points
robin,
on the board. The next closest in the group is 13. Yeah, you could say it's pretty good. And so I'm going to put that into a scope of like, well, let's argue that right now Group D had to take on everybody else with the performance Misfits had in Game 1. If that was a true statement, even
so
the top
what
of
happens
every other group,
when you play a professional level? Okay.
right now,
all these stupid stuff, right? कि तुम्हारे चलते मैं मर गया, तुमने ये नहीं किया इसलिए हम हार गए, मैंने ये नहीं किया इसलिए हम हार गए, right? All these stuff and all emotions and all your angerness or your jealousy and all this stuff, this doesn't happen there, okay? When all three of you, all the teammates have one goal that you have to improve, right? And become the best, or like work towards becoming the best team in any sports game. With my experience in Smite, I have played with teams, right? I have played with many teams, like 5-6 teams. There is no such thing like blaming and stuff, okay? It happens on the lowest of the lowest level, okay? On there, what happens whenever you lose a game, or whenever you win a game, or whenever you play a game, okay? All these three situations. Whenever you play a game, you win a game, you lose a game, okay? Whenever the game finishes, not between the game, okay? Between the game, nobody says anything except calling, okay? Nobody says like, अरे यार ये क्या कर रहा है यार, ऐसे कौन चलाता है गन, अरे ये क्या कर रहा है, हा हा हा, अरे तुम मिस कर दिया. These all things doesn't go in mind, because if अगर ये सब mind में चल रहा है, तो तुम्हारा गेम में दिमाग नहीं चल रहा, राइट? और क्या बोलते हैं उसमें क्या होता है, आफ्टर एवरी गेम यू लूज यू विन यू जस्ट प्ले ब्ला ब्ला ब्ला, you're the first team. What professional team does is they rewind. They're like they come on call. They're like, okay, what happened? Let's write it up. Okay, let's point it out. What happened? Okay, what did we do? What was the call? Did we follow the call correctly? Did we execute the call correctly? What happened there? How did we lose that fight? Why did we win that fight? If we win that fight, was there any way we could have won that fight better, or would have taken less damage, or would have not, or our one teammate wouldn't have died? Like, what could we have done at that place? All these stuff goes in mind. All these blaming, weakness, this, falana, dinkana, all these doesn't even come in mind because everyone is practicing every day.
Something to be desired, but in terms of the armor, which is probably the biggest focus for a majority of this squad, they are satisfied. Golden.
And this is the reason I'm not playing competitive
more party.
Now taking a look here.
Because I know that I'm not good enough to play with a team right now. When I will be good enough and I will know that I'm good enough to play with a team, I'll tell people that do you guys need a teammate? Do you guys need a third?
Yeah, very much so.
La, 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 la. I have had matches where we have lost so badly that, like, my best friends in Smite, right? When we didn't used to play competitive, we will have like fun all the time, 10 hours, 12 hours with having fun. Okay, as soon as we made our competitive team, all we used to do is fight. Like, after every loss we will like yell at each other, अरे ऐसे नहीं होता है, ऐसे होता है, तुम लोग ऐसे क्यों नहीं बोलते, तुम बोलते क्यों नहीं हो, कॉल दो यार, ऐसे करो यार. सिर्फ बात करना छोड़ दिए थे हम लोग. So अगर उतना पेशेंस है लोगों में कि all those fighting, all those yelling के बावजूद भी वो एक टीम में खेल रहे हैं, तो they can form a team. But वरना ये मत समझना कि टीम बनाने के बाद एकदम स्मूथ सेलिंग होता है. It takes a lot of effort to like make a team work.
Literally make or break for a majority of these teams here. So I would like to see for any of those teams that do say maybe the comms are a bit muddled, I would argue probably their success will bear that same fate.
So now over here to Space Station Gaming, a team we did see at the X Games, but of course, disappointing finish for them. They did finish in last place of this tournament, so an opportunity here for redemption at the preseason invitational, and maybe some action here that they're finding down here at Swamps.
All of them quickly taking the portal out, not wanting to deal with whatever may sit on the other side of that.
And you and I have talked a lot about getting out of Swamps, and that the fact that it is, sometimes you can kind of waltz right out, but if there's any sort of resistance in that central part of the map, if you're trying to head dead west, can be very difficult. Oftentimes you need to take a more north or south path out of this area of the map.
Yeah, but based on the actions alone, we haven't seen the map in a long while. It seems like the circle would be indicating in their favor.
Yep.
You would not be posting up with a Watson this soon into the game if you didn't have confidence that the final circle will in fact be here. If that is going to be the case, one thing I will want to bring up early is pre-prepping your zip line to get as many as possible, because of so many trees and kind of cheeky plays you can have around that, as TSM have found their way over towards the Swamps. I think it's fair to assess if TSM decided to make the rotation, this is where she's probably going to be.
Absolutely. And I mean, if we think about how early we are in this game, the fact that we are already seeing so much conversion and flying down here to lock down this area of the map, like we said, we've seen a lot of late game Swamp plays, right? It's divided into these, you get some very difficult battles, divided into these separate shacks with teams just looking for any advantage they can find. But what an interesting early game to see teams already setting up all the way here. And of course, you can't blame them. You look at where this ring is, very good chance it's going to fall right onto the Swamps.
Yeah, I got a small glimpse of one of the maps, and I think it's very, it's enough to say this is going to be on the Swamps area. As we see, it's a little bit south of the glance that we get from Kick Esports Club, but they're pressuring up here, find themselves a Watson generation, but this team is going to be no longer with us there, as GTS is going to be our first squad out of game number 2.
19 teams remaining back onto the side of Misfits. Your game 1 winners, if you're just joining us, a huge game from Misfits in game number 1 of Group D. 32 points on the board. Next closest was 13, so in the table, they're sitting pretty, but you can bet they're not going to let the foot off the gas. They have a little bit of a cushion, going to give them even more comfort here.
Yeah, there are 2 Swamp circles that actually have an ending here. Actually, there might even be a 3rd in total, but Misfits is positioning over one of those. It's one that we actually saw at the X Games. It was the Fnatic victory through a zipline, was this exact same positioning.
Da 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 da.
That we get here from the Misfits. And so basically what I'm trying to highlight is some of that pre-prepping again of that zip I think could be the make or break, but also how much foresight again we get out of the roster who had the most dominant
for Singularity. You saw them trapped, not so taking some shots from the back. They thought about zipping out.
Oh my. Ooh.
Will that nade hit?
From somebody else, BCJ is actually the one
to knock there. We'll see if they go ahead and push down low if they do want to get full wipe here. Taking a look at.
Are you thirsty?
Survivors so far.
Team Kurt is.
I'm pretty thirsty.
I can tell you that much, man. They're ready. Vessel's open. Time to go ahead and get yourself a drink. Get that thing quenched. It seems like Zerg was looking to confirm it. They do have a lot of damage onto the target as he dropped down below, questioning if he made his transition towards Labs, but that would have been a pretty slow crawl, and now actually Zerg backs out.
Back on board here with kick. Distant shots coming in.
Not able to hear in towards that swamps.
Oh!
Looks like the team will scurry away. However, they're under pressure as well. It's actually going to be the excellent side.
Yeah, beautiful.
Looks like they have more than one opponent to worry about.
Yeah, and Dodge has a lot more than just...
What is happening? Why is it buffering?
3 teams is in single digits in the standings right now. So if we've said that this is, of course, anyone's series after that, simply the delta between first and second makes that so clear that it's almost a wipe. And now this is all about games 2 and 3 for the rest of the table.
Nice finding any amount of loot that's actually profitable this late into the game, considering the rotations. How many players have actually made their transition through this exact same avenue? Seems like they sniffed a bit out there, a little bit more towards that southwestern end. A couple of pings going out, but Game Arena well established here in a swamp home. Are you a Shrek if you buy a house on the swamp? Like, is that what you call yourself? You're just Team Shrek?
I would say we have several Team Shreks if that's the case.
Yeah.
And they also got in early when the real estate was pretty cheap.
Can I be Fiona? That's all I want to know.
You could be my Fiona any day, Dread.
Thank you there, Bravo.
Back over here to the Game Arena side, and what we said, going to be a lot of window gameplay here, and as we see these swamp rings ending so commonly, it's really about trying to get that damage, and then eventually these teams will not leave until they absolutely have to, whether through ring damage or someone else trying to claim that real estate, which is pretty darn valuable, and it's only going to get more valuable.
Yeah, the increase of the real estate here on the swamp ends is going to definitely escalate as we move farther and farther down the rounds. Misfits choosing one of the early homes over the swamps with control over what is a very popular end circle opportunity. I will say, based on what we saw, again, from glimpses at the map, I'm not confident that they are on the absolute end, but definitely very, very close.
Still 19 squads left in this, and Misfits, one of the teams that has set up here for some of that early real estate.
All right, so we have everybody in the houses. We know that this is going to be a problem, but the question is going to be when. Clearly, that's all.
Can you not buffer?
Only once we get the force past the major wall to choke everybody in a little bit closer towards these corridors. The one actual problem, if this doesn't end on the swamp side and actually kisses a bit over, is there's a high ground area. If you look on the mini-map, that little ledge sitting next to each of these members on the left-hand side, that has a high ground walkway through it. That can dictate every pulse if it does not end exactly. In one of these homes.
Right. They also haven't checked into TSM in a while. We know that they were also posted up quite early. They made sure to get in and join the party as fast as they could.
This is the transition coming out from Sinisters, and they can now control so much of the transitions if they keep maneuvering on longer stretch, sitting a little bit there, about 240 onto the compass there. If you're really wanting to figure out how to up your game, definitely a place you want to be if you're in swamps.
course, expect them to Watson up here, and they're going to need to choose that rooftop pretty carefully, but expect them to sit tight here. Watson up, maybe get a few picks as people come in, and they'll zip when they need to.
As we see TSM maybe choosing the superior selection compared to that of the early rotating teams, as they definitely still have it. Misfits has lost their home with this last round circle. It's not too whenever we get our timer moving. Down. I'm very concerned, though. Anybody who's able to maintain a lot of that threat is going to stop teams like that from the Hydra Dam transition. It's very crippling for this roster here with Segelbert, excuse me, if anybody maintains that ground.
Absolutely. Coming in from the south here in this Hydra Dam area is going to be very difficult, like you said. They're going to have to more so choose these kind of routes. They're going to have to come in to the southern point of swamps and make that a swamps battle, avoid that high ground as best as possible.
Yeah, like in a dream scenario, you can just like launch out past the swamps and like ride a Leviathan around, because otherwise you're going to have to run through so many people that it's the end of the road here.
And back over to labs, we actually still see Team Kurt posting up in a spot we haven't really seen held on the main stage so far, and also with quite a few sight lines all the way across. But going to sit tight until they need to move. Actually, maybe not, as that ping goes down. You could see Team Kurt moving on. We'll keep an eye on them. But now back to Echo Fox with some shots coming in, and we're starting to see for the first time in a while the houses are actually exchanging some bullets here.
Nobody gaining a massive upper hand here.
Yeah,
notice how Stormin and Nitro both not using any of those cells, just capitalizing on the Watson ultimate.
So Segelbert actually opts to go low here. They don't go straight to swamps. They just drop just to the right of Hydra Dam, and now going to go ahead and use a portal to get in, but it might not be the best result for him.
And it's actually not going to be able to break around that line of sight, so if that target was actually shooting of them, each one is going to be in their scope. The longbow could hit now if it's going to around that rock grapple to be able to disengage from that. And sure, no damage comes through. Nitro did eat one shot, but it's not too problematic considering how, you know, they ended up opting into the low road, but it didn't look too good.
Yeah, and it's a surprising buyer's market there for them on Western Swamps, as they're able to just get right in and fully furnished home.
Nice arc star attempt. They should be able to push it. That ends up connecting.
Oh,
they land one over to the right side, which is why you see the scan there. Another thermite going to stop the advance outside of this home. R99 opens up, gets the break. Silk Thread still has the armor.
Yep, still here. Silk Thread out of Bangalore. We were talking about last game. Not a great result for them in the last one, but flies in with the Peacekeeper as well. Will get that knock.
He needs to armor swap.
Finish here.
He has to armor swap. The shot's coming through that door. He needs to be able to get on top of it. He peeks over top of it. Peacekeeper has to line up, but he had the reload animation.
Unlucky there. We thought we were going to see quite a miracle. Like you said, armor swap not coming in. And in the end, will go down. 18 squads left. And all that excitement, it's only one that drops. Now taking a look at Echo Fox here, once again towards the southern side.
Echo Fox looks like they're in a good position, but Stormin has already received some pressure from the backside of things, looking on the northern end of the swamps. But more importantly, they are not in the circle in that squad that we just witnessed, that fight in there. They have no major way to get an immediate push or find what I'm going to call an advantage over that transition in.
Now we're back on board with the Team Kurt side, and they actually have not left this top labs area, really taking their time. And essentially it looks like at this point, trying to pick up some knocks and some limbs here on the way over, and a great shot there. Coming out of Zerg, he's able to get the limb as well. Sitting up here on the high ground.
My day is what Zerg said as he looked at that poster, and my goodness, was it made here. It's not over though. The action still continuing to unfold here in the Swamps house. Fireman sitting with almost no HP. Brands goes down. Fireman, the last man to stand, no HP. Can he heal up?
Let's see if he can get outside right now. Probably going to try to sit on the outside of this wall and start popping some heals. But now on the Sinister Esports side, he's looking to try to get this finished, gets that limb, and now certainly that heal has come in.
Oh my gosh, the EVA shot's being able to chip away, and as well, Fireman actually not even the one who gets the knock. It's very important to note that Fireman has a target to his left-hand side that actually, I believe, confirmed that. Unless he ended up getting the kill, I don't think that was the case, but nobody threatening him whatsoever. Doesn't matter. All right, all the loot in the world.
An easy road for him, maybe not one he expected, as he had, as players would call, 1 HP and very low shields. Now so go ahead back over here to the 90 side on kick.
Yeah, very, very struggling opener here. Watson ultimate got to be thrown down to be able to help out here. They do have the zone a little bit onto their... No, I lied. Looking at the minimap, they don't even have the opportunity to positionally have an advantage. Oh my, Kurt getting knocked. The Thermite actually going to be brought back. Reloads instead. Worried about that Watson generator. Good call there. Thermite comes through, but it comes at the cost of 90 there, getting knocked by a beautiful longbow shot by BCJ. BCJ's pushing.
Look at this, and they're going to get it as well. That's going to be Zerg down.
BCP pushed. He ended up getting the Peacekeeper knocked. Now it's a one-on-one between him and Matrix. He takes the trade. It's not enough to be able to break the armor. He could swap there as he gets the thirst through, but we know there is a Pathfinder waiting with a Pathfinder, or excuse me, with a Peacekeeper, I believe. There it is. Great job by the cleanup coming out from Matrix.
Look at that. You can see the excitement, the intensity on his face. He's going to be happy about that 1v1. That will be Team Kirkton falls. Now back over to the Echo Fox side. We see Clem here in that Peacekeeper battle. I'm going to try to win this here. He's got some help as well.
Yeah, they do have the... Oh, man, this is a very concerning spot, especially with those disruptors if they end up shooting through here. They do not have the circle onto the side, but they've got a bit here that they can hold off. As we hear a grenade go off, confirming one of the last of the remaining rosters. 13 in total in this lobby as this circle gets smaller and smaller.
We did see some trouble there for TSM in the kill feed as well. We'll keep an eye on exactly what they're up to. But like you said, team's going to have to slowly come in from that west. And, you know, when we looked at that route that Team Kurt had, like, they took a lot of time at labs, and in the end, found themselves in a battle and a choke that they probably did not want to get into.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Look at this angle.
No way. Nice use there. Yeah, 2 opportunities to be able to escape. And this is why that wall I was talking about I was so concerned with, because there's 2 directions they can move around. They're basically just protecting both entrance and exit. Oh, but I say that kick actually getting pressured. Now has to nope out very, very quick. Uses the Phoenix kit and even tap heals it. Thermite's gonna finish him before it goes off. What a great grenade!
And now look, Naji's gonna fly in. He's the only one alive here for his team. Also gonna go for this revive, maybe a double revive as he's applying some good pressure. Now over to Team Liquid Blue.
Where is TSM?
They'll take down Excellence. 12 squads remain.
Just going to transition to the middle of the swamps. Ends up using this on the zip line. One of the better opportunities to use that just so you don't get the free shot over if there's a sniper waiting. On the low ground though, Casper trying to take his own route. He realizes that may be a mistake, tries to grapple up. People inside the house though. Cell canceled the first time. Gets it off here. It doesn't seem like inside the house is going to pressure him too soon, but he moves on the other side into the line of sight and it costs him his life.
And this is a dangerous place, of course. Everyone's checking every single window in swamps, and Nocturnal tries to finish it. No, that will be Team Liquid Blue eliminated there. Now 8 squads remaining as we switch over to Echo Fox. Only Zeki and Storm alive.
And Echo Fox has made it out of the house into the low ground and still find themselves alive. It is actually insane how long they've been able to hold on. The grenade comes through. It's not going to be able to close out the lifespan of Clem. A res opportunity may be available only after this battery goes off. I don't think he has the opportunity to stick this right there.
Is he qualified or not? Abhi chal raha hai bro.
I was
going to say, during the break, you called it out. You said Virtus Pro is a team that you expect to place top 5 in this group after seeing what they did in game number 1.
Yeah, they were very, very clean, and I think that they are going to continue on an upward trend through the rest of this tournament here. Nice couple of openers there. P2020 maybe able to finish the job. Sapatan going to go down. Noth already doing it for them.
It's going to be the Akihabara side.
अगर नहीं भी क्वालिफाई होगी ना हरेश तो एक लूजर्स ब्रैकेट अभी बचा हुआ है ये विनर्स ब्रैकेट जो लोग अभी लूजर्स ब्रैकेट में जाएंगे फिर उनको कल उनका मौका है लूजर्स ब्रैकेट तो सबको चांस मिल रहा है फाइनल राउंड.
The biggest thing to also look at is the zipline opportunities. There are a lot at this circle to be able to use for a zipline cheese opportunity. So be keeping track and making sure you're looking up.
Absolutely. Now, of course, that zip is up. So opportunity to get wherever they need to here in a moment. Back on board with PJ.
T-minus 10 seconds and counting for round 6 to close in, and likely at least 2 of our squads going to struggle. Virtus Pro just winging all the shots out, and honestly, it's very important to note that Taylor actually has 55 ammo.
TSM Imperial हाल अभी मरा.
Yep, and that is Hal that goes down there.
नहीं वो नहीं बोला उनका बोला कि they were in
back over to the Storm side.
Like कैसे बताऊं?
Fox. Take some time to heal, and there's going to be a lot of fighting from the low ground here with 4 squads left.
And that's Misfits actually getting cleaned up.
I don't know, TSM zinda hai shayad. Imperial hal down hua.
Is out here. Fox, the 2-man band with Stormin healing up. We know Virtus Pro has a high ground, but we actually don't know where the other squads are so far.
Oh, 88!
Turns around the corner, finds himself a Space Station Gaming. There's got to be one other alive, as that is not a knockdown shield.
Let's see if they can find it here. Might actually be up top now, roaming around with the Peacekeeper now still. As we see, Stormin does go down, so now it's all about Clem. Little armor swap.
He could look for an armor pull if he would like to in that type of situation, but he's going to opt out of it. Maybe cost him in a bit here. Virtus Pro still looking very, very profitable on this upper hand here, just checking each crevice within that roof to make sure nobody getting any free shots.
just like you said, looking for that team shot. And look at that. They're a little bit of elimination there. And now we're back on the Succubus side. We haven't been on board with them in quite a while, but they are sitting pretty.
They're sitting right below Virtus Pro. So now we know that Fox is already going to be struggling up to below ground down to man. This is basically how do we get Succubus to kind of enchant Virtus Pro down from that top floor. Taking a trade opportunity there, but if they get one like that, they need to make sure they all in it if they make this choice. And even then, it feels like it's very, very risky.
And it's also a tough route up those. You know, every single edge of this rooftop is Watson fence. So they come up there. We saw some great disruptor shots there from down low, but they're going to need to make sure that they have a route up, and just getting that knock is not going to win the game for them.
And look how beautifully placed that zip line actually is within the circle. It goes nearly perfectly 90 degrees upward. The thing is absolutely ridiculous, which what that means is just basically the longest time to be able to exist on it without taking too much damage in that final circle. Basically at this point, again, it feels like it has come down to who can stop the members of Virtus Pro on that high ground.
And we do have Space Station here as a solo, as we saw. It's going to be logically with all that pressure on the other side, though. Succubus all running blues.
It's very important to note that Succubus can't get too distracted to where they actually place third over second. That's enough points that you would be pretty upset to let a one-man band actually place in that second placement position. We'll see if they do so here.
Great shots there from Taylor. From that disruptor alternator now over to Noth. You see PJ now dropping a medkit. It looks like they're getting ready for this push as they do fly in here. Ring is coming in and they go in. Now frag grenade out for Noth as well. Thermite is out as well into the queue. We'll see if they can stay alive here now. Succubus 1 does fall. That's Crypt back through the portal, up through the zip. Now 2 squads left here in the 1v1. Yes, indeed. And it's going to be Noth of Virtus Pro who closes it out for the win.
That was a beautiful finish from Virtus Pro. Each member had their own mission on that final circle to make sure there was no way you lose. One, go up through the zip. The other is going to be the Wraith who drops down to make sure she wins the trade in the HP as beneficially as possible through the grenade and then dropping the iframe. The rest of the targets making sure they clean up and survive if they can. And the whole while, you know you've got yourself a high ground guy juggling up on the zip.
It is a fantastic finish and one full of composure. In the break, like I said, Dredd, you called it. Virtus Pro is the team you're watching, and they win the next game. I don't know what you know that I don't, but you called it.
Virtus Pro does things that make a lot of sense, is the best way to put it. And normally when you got a team that does a lot of things that make a lot of sense, shots don't line up. But Virtus Pro is this just culmination of 2 moments of greatness between those elements.
Yes, and also I think you pointed out perfectly, that was no clearer than in that late game. A lot more composure than we even saw from a lot of final rings at X Games. You need to make sure that each player is worrying about something different, not simply flying into the ring, which is what we saw even in the final rings at X Games. Another fantastic game, game 2 here for this group. Let's go ahead and head over to the studio. Over to you, Fallout, to break out that last one.
A lot to talk about, that's for sure. What a finish right there. And usually we talk about team performances. Usually we talk about team finishes. But in my eyes, Noth from Virtus Pro with hero plays, looking near perfect, dropping from top roof, getting great shots in and great damage in, immediately jumps, takes out the Thermite, lands the Thermite center circle. I mean, beautiful plays from Noth.
And that's why you want to have that high ground position, right? Because you have that option. We saw that VP, honestly, having that high ground, it worked out for them because they didn't have to worry about what their exit strategy was. They can jump out from the high ground from any position.
And that's what we were talking about while we were watching that game right there in the end. You and I had some back and forth about it. It was perfect where they were. They let all of the solos down below kind of take those fights. It wasn't anything they had to worry about. And then they could just clean up everything there right at the end.
Yeah, another team that performed, Space Station Gaming, who you see on screen. A great Game 2 performance after calling them out for 20th place in match number 1. Boy, they responded. You see Logically surviving there. He was on screen kind of coaching up the team. So you like to see some leadership out of the 17-year-old.
And we got to see that, you know, because of that Swamps ending there, that there were a lot of third parties, a lot of people just sniping from long lines, sight lines. So we'll get to see what the final kill tally is, but that is going to be a huge difference maker. This could propel them from 20th up to, well, in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely needed a good performance there. At least top 3. You need to put up some kills to be back in that top 10 fringe, especially after a 0-point game in game number 1. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the action here. This was the play we referenced. And let's check into the team comms here. I want to hear how it broke down for them. I think they're speaking a different language, though, so maybe not. I think they're from Sweden. I believe Noth was the one who made huge plays. The drop reference, and look at the damage done here. At least 150 damage right there. Immediately switches from frags to Thermite, by the way. Didn't even recognize that nuance. pops his Q, and then next thing you know, great plays from Noth staying alive.
Honestly, that play from Noth, that's specifically why we're seeing that, you know, during the X Games, that Wraith had a 100% pick rate. She is too strong in the late game to not pick up because of something like that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I've seen Wraith played throughout the entirety of this tournament as well. Any surprises here in team comps that you haven't seen so far? Pretty standard for Wraith, for Watson, etc.
Didn't one team not take Wraith?
I heard Tale of Bangalore, but I don't think it lasted too long.
Yeah, I think people were trying to change it up a little bit and then maybe decided it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, of course, the Wraith combo is too strong, working too well. And let's see what every team that played Wraith ended up as, which is every single team for the most part. Of course, Virtus Pro. Wow. Oh my gosh. By the way, they got second and then they got first. So 2 great placements from them. They get 12th in the last game, or sorry, first in the last game, 12 points, 13 kills, a 25-point game alone in match number 2. This isn't the overall standings, by the way. This is just the previous match, as we see Succubus with a good performance as well. Space Station, despite getting, it's showing 7th there. I thought they were top 3. But 2 kills to Space Station's aim, so 9 points total. They're bouncing back as well.
Yeah, they got the 3rd place finish, so they got the 7 points there. But I mean, it's what a reversal of fortunes, right? Because we had the 32-point game coming out beforehand from Misfits, and now they didn't even break double digits on this one. And honestly, still, because of that first game, they are still sitting pretty.
They're in a great spot.
I mean, they also still finished top 10. You know, they came in at 6th. TSM still came in at 7th. You know, I think we're seeing a massive reversal of what we had originally thought was going to go down in this group.
Yeah, that's true. Virtus Pro being the team that's looked the best so far overall, if you had to say between the 2 games. Misfits, another team looking great. TSM, you'd put them in maybe the top 5, top 6 fringe of how they're performing right now. Would you say you expected that coming in, or thoughts on TSM's performance?
I think, honestly, it just came down to these rings. Having this swamp ending here makes it very difficult for any team, and it becomes a huge gamble at that point, right? Swamps, it can go to anybody at all, and that's what we got to see. A lot of teams were able to make that rotate in, but we're seeing the very heavy funnel coming out. We saw a lot of fights there at the north side where I believe Gen G went down there. Space Station lost like 2 of their members over there. Like it was a huge scramble to try and make it through that choke point, and not too many teams did.
And it's always kind of, you know, a little bit of a crapshoot there when you're kind of like, I don't know which team's going to take it down. But we did see Echo Fox kind of pick up their gameplay after that first game. They really struggled in the first game, and then they ended up in 3rd place in that final ring with everybody else. So
and that's going to propel them to 7th place overall. Yeah, well said there. Space Station sneaking into the top 8 after being in 20th place after the first match. So a great bounce back performance from them. Of course, Misfits still leading the way, but look at that. We're tied for 1st place here. Of course, these guys are competitive. They want to end up number 1. Misfits winning with the tiebreaker thanks to the sheer amount of kills that they have. But a team that we talked about, you actually highlighted as a dark horse, Succubus in 3rd.
Yeah, Succubus, I mean, it was definitely a team that we had to look out for. They had a good performance at Twitch Rivals. They're going to be making their way to TwitchCon EU. But this is also a team that, you know, once they started competing together, they were really grinding out in the scrims. And so they weren't taking anything lightly at all. And they are full bore on this train for Apex competitive.
Yeah, of course. They're looking very, very strong. 2 teams I saw on the 2nd page there, 10th through 20th. Team Liquid.
I knew you were going to say it. I knew you were going to do it.
And Fnatic EU, both on the fringe right now. So not even close to over yet, but we got to see great performances from them in match 3 if they want to make it to winners bracket round 2.
I'm a little bit bummed that that's where they are on the standings right now, but we still have one more game. For anybody has the same opportunity to pull out a game like Misfits and Wyvern have so far. So one massive game like that can easily propel one of the French teams up into the top 10.
I mean, this is definitely do or die territory, but because of like how concentrated that the elimination points were amongst the 2 top teams in Misfits and Virtus Pro, that actually leaves our middle of the pack anywhere between 5th and 10th open up to be able to just be overtaken by anyone in this lobby right now. I mean, we saw SSG with about 9 points propelled themselves into the top 8.
That's a great point, actually. So that almost like 5th through 15th means they're all going to be pretty evenly distributed thanks to how many points that we saw from Virtus Pro and Misfits to start. So a great point here. That leaves us up and sets us up for a wild match number 3 opportunity here. Space Station might be feeling okay, top 7 right now, but they got to perform. Meanwhile, the door's wide open for Team Liquid Blue and Fnatic EU.
I'd be super happy if they can kind of bring it out in the final game and get themselves back up in that top 10.
Oh, that'd be great. We're setting ourselves up for a great story here. We saw Zerg with triple take putting in work. Awesome to see a sniper use that is not the longbow here at the Preseason Invitational. We've seen some G7 Scout use. We've seen a decent amount of triple take right there. But Zerg as an individual is one of the points leaders, at least top 5 in points, I believe, as he's been, or sorry, damage done, as he's been really, really putting in work. So big shout out to Zerg.
He's just a phenomenal young talent, right? It's a reason why that at 14 years of age, he was actually scouted out for Overwatch contenders. And if age weren't a restriction, he might have seen a lot more play. But, you know, back then he was 14 years old. He's 16 years old now, just, you know, old enough to be able to compete here.
Yeah, Zerg, what a story that he's had since 13, being kind of scouted. And you love to see young talent coming up. It's reasons that older people like us do not fare very well in esports anymore.
Whoa, don't
you still do. I can't put you in there.
Me in with
you are
one of us now. I'm sorry. We're going to bed soon, by the way.
Yeah.
You know,
I've been calling Grandpa Jamerson all weekend, by the way, because he didn't know how to retweet on Instagram, which you can't do, by the way.
Oh, well, this is a true story.
Gram, yeah.
How do you re-gram on Instagram?
I've got the lingo down, though, right? They're called grams?
No. Definitely not. But Succubus right there, one thing we just saw is very, very interesting, and we'll see if the command center will break it down here in just a moment. But a couple missed shots from the wingman right there, so I want to go ahead. We'll see if they're going to break down that play or others. Let's go ahead and throw it over to my man guy Blaze and Nathanius over at the command center. What's up, guys?
Thank you, Fallout. Yeah, man, that was a crazy game. Once we kind of saw that where that hill was going to end in swamps, it really was like Shrek's village, and it was a bunch of duplexes. You had teams fortified inside with Watson. You had teams on top of the buildings as well, so it got really chaotic. So we saw a few key plays, and Nate's going to be able to break one down for you guys on above all breaking into this building and winning this engagement.
Yeah, we had quite a bit of chaos, over in the swamp, and we'll definitely get to the finale at Shrek's house in a second. But just some really great stuff. Wanted to point out, Brands, these guys got into a big fight over at this house, and just the control, the gameplay coming around, just great job. Goes with the double arc star, waits the opportunity, sees the tag, and he's going to be able to jump on top of this, which sets his team up in a really nice spot. As they're going to be able to clean up, and then of course we see the next two enemies, of course, are going to be coming in, but now it's in that 2 versus 3 situation.
Yep.
So Brands is going to be up here to take the brunt of that force, and he's going to get knocked real quick, but what he does is he creates the opportunity for Fireman and his teammate BNS to be able to get the cleanup on top of this. It's a big trade out. There's a whole lot of and houses in this area where all the action is going down, but he's going to at the very least be able to push that team forward just a little bit more. He's going to be able to come out, get the loot, and keep the game going.
And look, it's 18 teams remaining, and we're getting these engagements happening at the swamps. Now,
very late. This wasn't early, by the way.
Now, let's hop on over to the last clip so we can kind of replay those last and final moments for you guys, because we talked about early on about Space Station Gaming, where they were last in the first game, and now they managed to make it to top 3. Logically, actually was under this house. He ended up putting some Watson traps around that Wraith portal, and he pre-tossed the incinerator, he pre-tossed the thermite, and I almost thought that he was going to actually be able to get both those teams as soon as they came out of that portal.
Yeah.
But as we're going to see, Virtus Pro comes out on top.
It just gets absolutely nuts because you're playing around with the roof of this building in a late game situation, of course, being able to take advantage. This right here, this is what makes a pro a pro. You're looking for these opportunities. You say, okay, well, just because we're a floor above you doesn't mean that there's not a way for us to still shoot down. And getting the initial engage here for VP as that final circle is going to squeeze everybody together. You can either try to do the weird thing, go for the out heel or shoot through the cracks, or you can jump down, get crazy aggressive in your face, throw that grenade, use the void run to keep yourself, get every little bit of an advantage that you possibly can. And I mean, great plays like that are why we're seeing VP crush it today.
Exactly, and as you see, the boys come out on top with the victory. Now I'm going to toss it over back to you guys at the desk, and we're going to see going into match number 3, which are going to be our final 10 teams to move on.
Blaze, Nathanius, thank you so much, guys. Great breakdown there. Finally, we see some use of the targets, the pause, the slow-mo, awesome stuff over at the command center with the telestrator. Greatness as always. And I actually missed that shot that we saw from Taylor through the cracks on the roof. I mean, the amount of damage that they were able to do early to Succubus, which set them up for late game, end game success to close it out, really would made the difference.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why